uncontrolled disclosure. I don't think anybody wants a truly uncontrolled disclosure in the sense that it I mean, it has the potential to make things go chaotic,
catastrophic.
Catastrophic. I mean, at the end of the day, I think that people could take it. I mean, look, if you look at the news cycle nowadays, right, and like nobody even flinches now when you talk about recovered alien bodies, right? Nobody bats an eye. They don't even give a shit. Mm-hmm. So it's like where we're at right now. It's like people are just kind of waiting for it to be laid out. And it's like, I think people will just move on the next day, honestly.
Yeah, because it's like the whole question of what is disclosure? Disclose what exactly? Like which piece of information do you want? But it sounds like he kind of already, I mean, when you phrase it that way, you say, what, can't tell children there's something that can read their mind and watch them all the time. I mean, we tell children that every day. We tell them Santa Claus could do that shit.
Right. Or God or what have you.
And we're fine with them believing that too for a couple of years until, they figure it out on their own. So I wonder.
We're fine with adults believing it if it's from the religious angle. It's
right.
You've got some guy judging you for all of your internal thoughts.
Great point. Great point.
Please don't judge me for my own internal thoughts.
The Catholics have been telling people that forever. That's the whole,
I mean, almost every religion, I think every religion I can think of is based upon the fact or the idea that humans are interacting with different varieties of non-human intelligence, whether they're angels, gods, jinns, asuras, all types of, every religion has some kind of non-human intelligence that's interacting with them that's somehow divine in some way.
And Scientology is the only one that actually calls it an alien, which is at least
the Mormons do too, right?
I think the Mormons do.
Yeah, I think
that's an alien.
Yeah, something about extraterrestrials.
Yeah, the Mormons are a UFO-based religion. Yeah,
I don't think I realized that.
Yeah,
the Raelians and the.
Oh man, yeah, I met a Raelian once.
Did you really?
I did.
We got to hear.
Do they have shoulder pads?
Railer, I hardly know her.
Very Jehovah Witness like. No offense to Jehovah's Witnesses out there, but super preachy.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I'm sure they're enthusiastic, but that stuff is, man. I mean, I remember I first came across a book by the guy Ryle or whatever. I forget his real name right now, and I was reading. I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then I was digging into who he is, and I was like, wow, man, this shit is messed up. Really?
Oh yeah,
really is. Yes.
Yeah, we're
the epitome of a cult. Yeah.
Did you meet a Raelian just by chance, or was it at an event?
It was at a Steve Seti event, believe it or not, because the guy was a local. Yeah.
Okay.
It was out in New Mexico.
That looks fake.
It's from the Netflix documentary.
Dumbass.
This kind of looks real.
It's a real photo, dude.
That's how he sees himself. Here's one. This is my favorite one of him.
Oh man.
Who's reading? Yeah. I love this Jedi robe that he's got. And check out this cool medallion. It's
that guy pulled chicks. That's crazy to me.
That guy pulled mad chicks. He got leg for sure. There's no question about it.
Even 16-year-olds or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Dude, this guy literally he fucked everyone's wife at the same resort, like while they were all there, and nobody said anything about it. And it was just like for like years. And even then, after they did find out about it, it was still like, well, I guess it's okay.
No, I mean, I think they're kind of like open about their exploration into that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yes, which I get, but it's also like that's also where I have when you find yourself in a culty kind of a situation and you get to that point, you should pause and take a beat.
That's the thing. Like, most people, they don't realize, because your logical reasoning is trying to validate your actions. So it's going through bias filters that you have to justify the reasoning for what you're doing. That it's a rationalization.
and the sunk cost of time and money and all the energy you've poured into it. You don't want to believe.
Well, I mean, even more so for what people, what's much more powerful to the individual is their identification. And that these kind of gurus seize that, they take advantage of that because they know how to play these identity shift games.
Can I ask you a question, James? It's because
I didn't participate in the Raelian thing.
No.
The Raelian Rail Fest.
Did. We know it. We know it for sure.
I recently did a video of an old clip of you interviewing Diana Pasolka, and given how much activity right now there is of the religious aspect of ufology, and certain members of like high places in government have this belief that this is spiritual or religious. The clip that I used in one of my videos is Diana going a little deeper into that hierarchy of beings that she spoke about. I don't know if you spoke to her about it first or Danny Jones did first, but the first clip I saw was Danny Jones, and then I saw yours, and her response goes more in depth into what she meant. What do you think is going on there? Because there's like this really interesting, like smug type of attitude from intelligence community folk that they feel like they sort of have like a right to know certain information, and regular people don't. And I've seen this very much, especially more recently in ufology. Like, what do you think about that? Where do you stand on that idea and position?
I mean, that hierarchy of beings conversation, it's probably a very old one, right? But the first time that I saw it was with Monsignor Balducci, who was the top demonologist for the Vatican. And he was talking about this on some Italian TV show in the 1990s. I think he may have expanded on it further, but he's basically saying, humans are here. If there are advanced extraterrestrial life, they're probably here. Angels are here. God is here. I mean, he was simplifying and just saying humans are we're like babies in the universe. And again, the interesting thing is that this was the top demonologist for the Vatican. And he had said to somebody, because he was very pro-disclosure, he participated in the Disclosure Project via Paola Harris, was able to conduct the interview because she speaks Italian. And he participated, Stephen Greer took that interview and put it in his Disclosure Project, like he did without James Fox's permission when he took Dr. Edgar Mitchell's interview that James Fox did with him. And like he did that with many things. But so that conversation goes back to then, and it's been picked up. Dr. Diana Pasolka has talked about it. And I guess Timothy Taylor had his version of it, which places intelligence officials on kind of like above the general population. And, if they want to go that route, really, people that are awakened or have awakened psychic faculties are above intelligence people, because those are the people that actually interface with the phenomenon because their consciousness is more in tune. But I think, yeah, right. It creates elitist thing, which I'm not a fan of. But
there's like, you're saying there's like a tier of intelligence people that they think, look, because of our position, we are entitled to this information, and they feel very protective of it. And then you're saying there's another tier above them of people who have
direct contact,
refined their telepathic abilities to be able to directly interface.
I mean,
and those people, the intelligence folks don't all have that. That's something that.
Well, I mean, they tell the story of they go to Chris Bledsoe and they approach Dr. Stephen Greer the same way. Even though they'll deny it. I know John Alexander has never given a straight answer about that meeting that he was at with Stubblebine when they approached Dr. Stephen Greer in the early 90s to try to recruit him into the program because they realized what he was doing was legitimate. And, we're back here 30 years later talking about the psionics thing is the same thing. So, I guess they feel that the intelligence people feel that I mean, I think in their own heads, they're not like, oh, we're better than everybody else. I think it's more of that they feel they have to take this burden on for everybody else. And you can hear this kind of messaging with Tom DeLonge when Tom DeLonge is kind of put out there to put this perspective into the UFO zeitgeist that, well, actually these are the good guys. And they have to go home every night with this on their mind while everybody's, bringing their kids to soccer and whatever. And they're dealing with the world's greatest challenge. And I do think that is a valid perspective. I don't think it's just a made up thing. And we don't get to hear about that often. So I appreciate that that's part of the conversation. It brings more nuance to it, a little bit more of humanity to characters that it's easy to dehumanize because their intelligence, they're hiding this from us. And so I do appreciate hearing that perspective, like, because I never thought about that until Tom DeLonge brought it up, right? Like it's always like the evil intelligence people, and I don't agree with their methodology. I think this should have been out long ago, but at least like, okay, there's some kind of like valid argument to be made about those kind of decisions. But I think the problem is that it just went way out of control. And as Stephen Greer said, they painted themselves into a black box because in doing all of this, they've committed crimes against individuals, personally, American citizens, which is illegal, and crimes against humanity. And who's going to turn themselves in, right? Especially when in their mind it's justified.
Yeah.
But I think that's what's so interesting about that line of reasoning around secrecy, that sort of just to justify the secrecy, because as you and Xander just pointed out, and you're so right, I don't know why it's never occurred to me this way, but we've interacted with a hierarchy of beings via every religion on earth. So that's not new. Billions of people are on board with that. And it seems like the whole point, of our media system is to always give us something to be afraid of or worried about or concerned. It's always Iran. Iran's going to get a nuclear weapon. Oh my God, they're going to come get us. It's a huge. You would think that if it really was like a big, scary truth about this non-human intelligence, that would would work in your favor, right? Like, wouldn't it get everybody on board with, oh God, we got to deal with this. We need to face this. We need to fund it. We need to.
I mean, that's why it allegedly, right? It has secretly been funded the way it has through a ton of covert operations, illegal money, and that there has allegedly been a plan for decades to roll this out. That it is a threat, right? That has been a plan allegedly, and we hear about this with the 2027. Oh, there's an object heading towards us. I do believe that psychological warfare angle has been planned, whether they were ever going to use it or not.
Oh, like they put it in place as a fail-safe or something they could activate.
It's something that they've been probably planning for decades. I don't know the logistics behind that, but again, yeah, Jeremy Corbell has talked about it. Stephen Greer has been talking about it since the 1990s.
You're talking about Bluebeam or something like it?
So a more sophisticated variation of that. Bluebeam would be like not even a beta, below beta. The actual thing, and that's so crazy because I used to think that this is just a bunch of nonsense. Like, this is where it's like, what, Stephen Greer, he's going too far. A lot of his other stuff he's on point with, but I mean, this one is just, I don't know about this, man. But in today's world, man, I'm like, wow, it would be so easy to just, you wouldn't even need, like, again, even 10 years ago, I didn't think it would be feasible, right? But now you just need one kind of like weird looking drone to attack one city. And that, I mean, with all this UFO hype going on, that's all you would need to stoke the fire, because you already have people riled up about disclosure, right? It's mainstream now. It's like in our pop culture. It's every week it's in the news. So all they have to do is shift the perspective on it, and the seeds have already been planted.
Yeah, and that's something they would totally do, right? Like that's a total psyop move. Start years early and just start planting the seed. Generate maybe 2-3 generations back if you could, and really get it baked in. And then when you need to pull the ripcord on whatever, I don't know, if you ever need to activate that contingency, you have this plan that's sort of, the gasoline is already soaked in to the ground. You just have to throw a match.
Yeah, and I think part of the push for disclosure is that a lot of the or some other countries that are working on the reverse engineering of non-human intelligence technologies are making breakthroughs that we can't tell if it's a copy or not at this point.
You think that's what's going on? That's what's motivating it?
I think that's part. Like Luis Elizondo, right? I don't think he's. I mean, when I see somebody like him and he says that his number one priority is national security, and they're talking about all these, his thing specifically was military incursions, right? Like it was the military case guy, which differed from OSAP, right? Yeah. And they took that angle because it had a strong evidential base. But if there's technology like that and other countries are starting to mimic it, and we're having drone flaps where nobody can tell what the difference is anymore between a UAP and an advanced drone, that's a problem, right? Especially if people aren't being read into, hey, other countries have this kind of technology. Where did they get it, right? But you can't tell them that it came from aliens because aliens don't exist. So you have to have some form of formal disclosure to be able to even read those people in. You can't even tell Congress about it, right? Or the Senate Intelligence Committee or the Armed Service Committee. So you have to begin to bring people up to speed, because how are we going to implement our own reverse engineered stuff? We can't, because it's on a need to know basis. Mm-hmm. But the problem is that the contractor's not just going to say, yeah, you know what, you guys are right. No, they're holding on to this crown jewel, and they don't give a shit about geopolitics, right? They want the return on their investment.
I actually think it's probably getting to the point where it's not the case that one country is necessarily pulling out ahead of the game, but that we're all starting to realize that the new technologies that we're making available for ourselves and the general public, albeit a couple of generations behind, is AI. And it is accelerating our development so fast that... And there's also the corporate espionage element of it, where the Chinese want to actively steal the latest models from the American entities and the other way around. So we're all just going to end up with this conglomerate AI that will it will raise the technology platform for everybody. And then it's at the point where it's like they're all stood in a room just saying, well, who's going to say it? Because we all know everything here right now. We just need one of us to actually say it. And I think a couple episodes ago or something, we were saying, wouldn't it be great if they all said it at the same time? That would really signify a huge change in humanity, really.
Right. And I think part of the problem is that nobody is on the same page. Certain people are pro-disclosure, others are not.
Yeah. Are you describing, James, that the black box is the military people? It sounds like what you're saying is the folks in the military and intelligence community are like, look, we've got to disclose, or we can't unleash the resources that we have to fully operationalize all this shit. But if we don't do that soon, the Chinese are already doing it. And then you've got aerospace, who is saying, no, this is the goose that lays the golden egg. We're not going to give this up no matter what. And those are the two forces that are clashing.
I mean, to simplify it, I think it's even more complex than that, because there's people in the military that you can have a general, or you can have a joint chiefs of staff, right? Like Admiral Wilson, who was not read in, even though it's supposed to be under his command. But you have somebody who's a subordinate to him who's completely read into the program. So it's the entire chain of command is
jumbled up,
eroded.
Yeah,
it's eroded, and and it's made a cancer within all of the systems because of the subversion. Because again, you had like I forget who pointed this out, but they're exactly right. Is you'll have staffers, right, who know, and the Congress people are just like, okay, they're rotating, so we're not going to tell them anything.
Sure.
So that level of complexity is why we're in the mess we are in.
So the people that are the pro-disclosure people are who? Who would you describe as the pro-disclosure faction? If you had to like make a T-chart.
It's not that simple because really? I'm sure that there's even Collins elite people that are like pro-disclosure, even though people wouldn't think that. Chuck Missler was out there giving lectures on UFOs and hyperspace and how the UFO technology works. And I met an individual who has since passed, and he was a guy who would run conferences in New Jersey. And, there's pictures of him with like Jacques Vallée and whatever. And he told me people would post UFO stuff, and he'd always be like, "Oh well, XYZ, it's actually demons or something." I'm like. And so instead of just shutting him out, I'm like, why do why are you saying this? Why do you think that? I started to like want to understand his reasoning. And he told me that Chuck Missler was his mentor and that Chuck Missler was part of the Collins elite. And after he said that, I went and I looked up Chuck Missler and watched his talks. And I was like, holy shit, that totally makes sense. You got this aerospace guy who's like firm in his Christianity that's also giving talks on the Bible and biblical interpretations of the Nephilim and stuff. So I was like, wow. Right. And
who is Chuck Missler? I don't know. Who is that?
He's an aerospace defense /business /Christian. Okay. He's passed away a few years ago now, but I would definitely say if you're interested in the Collins elite perspective, watch some of his stuff. There's better ones. There's ones that are less like religious and more technical and like hyperphysics, I guess you want to call it. But it's very interesting. And the funny thing is that I think some of his perspectives on the subject were quite advanced, especially for the time. Right. It's just that it had a lens of religiosity to it that he was sure they were demonic, and to that extent.
Do you guys think, I'm just curious from the panel here, and in the chat, if you guys are playing the home game, let us know. I'm curious what you think. Is the demon thing even a problem? Like, really, if they just came out and said, look, we don't know where they're from. You want to call them demons, that's fine. But here's a picture of one. Here's a video of one. We've got these guys in tanks over here. Here's the ship they show up in. Whatever you want to call it, who cares? I mean, would it still be progress if half the people in the world were like, they're demons, and the other half were like, I don't know.
I don't think so. I think it assigns origin where people don't really know the origin, and it shuts down some it shuts down some research. It shuts down some open thinking, and assigning origin when you don't know is damaging to the entire thing. Personally,
I think that in the past it has kind of siloed and shut things down because it's behind closed doors. But if they went out and said, hey guys, UFOs are real, aliens are real, they're actually demons, most people are not going to believe that, quite frankly.
Right.
But they're just going to say, I have, for better or worse, a naivete optimism in humanity that when you present them with this, they're going to hopefully do the right thing. But either way, if you came out and said, hey guys, non-human intelligence is here and they're terrestrials, you still have the 30% of the world that's going to say, oh no, they're actually demons. So whatever you tell people, they're still going to have their lens on it.
Right. So I don't think it matters. That's my point. It doesn't, even if it came out tomorrow, there was no controlling what people interpret it as. I mean, might as well.
The scientific community won't take it.
That's
true. They're going to say, no, they have to be from somewhere. I mean, they'll actually be inquisitive and not just take that kind of statement at face.
And they have a lot of influence in the world in general. The mainstream science, they have a lot of influence.
Well, no, I mean, but I'm saying if you came out with irrefutable proof that was publicly available, to be independently analyzed and verified by anyone anywhere, right? Like, I don't know what that is, but let's just assume that you have
proof
whatever.
that it was demons. Like if there was proof,
No,
that
no,
it
no.
was demons?
Proof that it's real, that the
Okay.
phenomenon is real. And then you just put it out there and you go, this is what we got, people. You want to call it demons? Fine. We don't know where they're from. They appear and then they go away, and sometimes we catch them. This is what we got. And then you if people want to call them demons, fine. But the people at MIT are going to be taking them apart and, or whatever. The scientific community is going to do what they do if they know they can examine the data. As Gary,
but there is going to be a debate, Clint. I think
you're going to
and
have
a very,
anyway.
very strong debate right after, because there's going to be people from within academia, from within the religious leaders, that they're all going to be just like trying to push what they think it is into the rest of the world. And I think that's where that's why I keep talking about making these roundtables of people who are like leading their positions in all walks of life, and just sit them down at a table and talk about it, and like have an honest debate, not go into ad hominem attacks or anything like that.
Like
just
a jury, almost like the way a jury works.
Like a united place for nations to meet and talk about their differences.
Let's say a 21st century Council of Nicaea of sorts, to learn how to categorize reality properly, like a baseline of what it is. But that means that people have to leave their biases at the door when they get into this room and this hypothetical round table. And that's going to be the hard part, I think.
Well, I just think it doesn't seem so complicated to me that I can't open my mind up and just go, look, there's 3D physical types of life. There are other forms of life that are invisible to us, in all directions, bigger and smaller, and however you want to look at that. There are some forms of life that are probably non-physical and can appear physical when they want to be. Would I call it a ghost, a poltergeist, a demon, an alien? It doesn't, in the end, I don't think it's just semantics. It's a thing that's real. Lou Elizondo did in one interview once address this, and he said, we used to call them monsters, but anyone who, sailors would go out and see these things, and they didn't know what they were. It's monsters out there. Until you realize, they're just a part of nature, and it's a part of the ocean and its ecosystem. And as our expanding knowledge grows and we get to a point where we can categorize these things, we will. But at first, sure, of course it's going to be confusing and weird, but I don't see that as a problem. I see that as just the process.
Luckily, there's only one question we really have to ask. It doesn't matter what they announce. We should have the same follow-up question no matter what they say, which is, how do you know? That's all we need to ask. Like, if they want to say if they say non-human intelligence, you could say, how do you know? But it's actually pretty obvious. If it's non-human intelligence, all you have to identify is it human or not? But if they make a further claim, such as it's an alien, then you have a harder task ahead of you, because you can be presented with this demonic looking thing. The Greys are pretty scary. So the religious people that may interpret them to look like demons do have that right to say, how do you know it's alien? And likewise, I would ask it as well. Like, I want to know, how do you know this thing is from another planet? Or how do you know it's an interdimensional being? So I hope that whatever they announce things as, providing it actually gets announced, they have some evidence to back up whatever claim it is that they make. If they want to say non-human intelligence, fine, but just show me something that is intelligent and non-human, and then we'll just go from there. Sorry.
That's a great point.
You better be sorry, dude, for being
that was kill that conversation.
I've got an audience question here, a great one too, and
we have a lot of super chats. So
yeah. Here's a super chat from Flores. MH wants to know, I'm curious, what does everyone think about the rise and fall of Skywatcher? Is it op or genuine? What was their intent? Did they get the monies? I love that term. I love the word monies.
Monies.
My money's from private investor and went underground. Do you believe Barber's Tears? Barber's Tears is a great name for a song.
It is. Somebody have like an AI music generator on hand?
we got musicians on hand.
Barber's
we got
Tears. True.
Got the real thing. What do you guys think? What do you think about Skywatcher, James?
I think that Jake Barber's story is genuine as he tells it, right? I think that probably did affect him the way that he claims it did. I do believe that he experienced what he says he experienced. The Skywatcher thing, I'm sure people here heard behind the scenes kind of how that fell apart.
Well, for the people who don't know, I mean, what can you say about that? What do you know?
I can't say that I know anything definitively. All I'll say is that I heard the rumor, and I hope I'm not talking out of turn here, that when Fowler got the offer from the DoD or wherever, he took all the data with him, and
But they
dog whistle.
the dog whistle.
But also that, again, this is speculation and rumor, so don't take any of this as a fact. But that he took all the data that was collected with him as well, and that was a problem for Skywatcher.
And we also
it makes sense to me.
For people who don't know what Skywatcher is or was, and we're still not sure exactly what condition Skywatcher will be in the near future, but it's a private group. It was proposed by what was the guy's name?
Alex Clokus or
Clokus. Alex Clokus, who was a tech guy. He had made all his money in tech and hedge funds, and then decided to privately fund a recovery team made up of former military people who had worked on crash recoveries and retrievals. And the idea was, we're going to take private money. We're going to hire all these guys. They're going to come out and do what it is they do. And we're just going to catch one of these things. We're going to do a private civilian. And then all the data was supposed to be put out there. It was all going to be documented. It was all going to be made available for analysis. And that was the whole open source kind of angle. And they had a great camera team and a editing team. Their whole production was awesome. They put together all these videos, and then it just completely went silent.
Well, and the idea that they were going to get a craft to land, because I mean, Jake Barber claims that there were landings during some of the operations. I don't believe that ever happened. I believe what happened is that objects were taken down forcefully, yet kinetically, as they say, with scalar weapons. Right? I don't think that any of these eggs or whatever they were landed. I think that they were taken down because it was over a test range. Who knows if half of those objects weren't even DARPA vehicles being tested, right? I don't know, but you know, the idea that Skywatcher first at least wanted to investigate the psionic angle, but also being able to call them in with CE5 psionics, also the dog whistle, and you know, when I heard the claim that they were going to get one of these things to land, well, first of all, you know, Dr. Diane Hennessy Powell and Dr. Gary Nolan said, if anything's ever taken down kinetically, we want nothing to do with it. Really? So I appreciate that they had the sentiment that we're not shooting anything down. It's they can invite it and it will land, which again, I don't think that has happened with the programs Barber was talking about. I believe that they were all taken down kinetically, and the weird thing about it is that all this was in I forget the place that he called it, but it was in a testing range.
The range.
Right. So the range, right? So it was not in like an open area. So it's a safe area for something to be taken down without civilians or anybody else getting involved. So I believe that they were all taken down kinetically, anything that was seen.
And you do believe James' story about being, or Jake's story about being affected by the 8-gon, right? Yeah. Like, so having some kind of a. Do you believe when he's retelling that? I mean, what was that interview he just did the other? It was a couple days ago that one came out where he was
the one at. Is it the one at Seoul?
Was it the Seoul one? Was that where he's crying? He cried again. He gets all choked up. I mean, he's telling it. I mean, this was like 2 years later after whatever it was the first time, and now he's telling.
I had an experience that was extremely similar to that, so I completely understand that, and I don't think that he's just making that up. And it was funny.
I don't either.
I don't either.
Yeah.
One of the crafts that I saw was actually a hexagon. So when he said 8-gon, they're talking about like an octagon. One of the objects that I saw, like less than 200 feet away, it was right above the trees, was a hexagon.
Where'd you see this?
in my yard in 2007. But
Wow.
I was told to come outside. I mean, there's a whole
Go on.
there's a whole long story to that. It's not just a one and done thing. It's part of an entire series of contact events that took place over the course of a month and a half to 2 months. I mean, in retrospect, from my childhood, probably, but that series of like 3 powerful events that occurred all happened in 2007. And I mean, that's kind of put me to where I am today, right? That's why that series of events is what initiated me into the whole engaging the phenomenon thing.
If you don't mind, there was one thing that was really telling when Skywatcher fell apart, and I wish we'd known this from the beginning, is we found out they'd all signed NDAs. It was like, oh, okay, they set this up like a classic company then. Like it really, it's not conducive to a very open and sharing endeavor if you make everybody that's involved sign a piece of paper saying you can never tell anyone anything.
But why all the hype? Like, why that big media push and all the, like, I mean, it was so slick and well done. What's the point?
I mean, I swear to God, when I heard about, I meant to say this before, is that when I heard about the craft landing part, right, the first thing that came to my mind is Tom DeLonge and TTSA are going to build a spaceship.
Right.
Like, I believe that they fully intended, they like, Tom was probably serious about that. The defense people probably knew from the beginning that's not going to happen.
That's not happening.
Tom was probably
wishful thinking,
right? And we need wishful thinking, right? Like, if you're going to really get behind something, you have to believe it, right? You're not just gonna.
This is what it's so interesting to me about this company. There's another company called Eldeon. Eldeon. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's spelled ELDAEON, and they have a sensor suite of tools that you can basically buy that does UAP tracking and identification with the sophisticated algorithms, and they've got the whole thing built into one little box, right? And if we're to believe that there is such a thing as a electromagnetic dog whistle that can be used to summon craft and makes them appear either, I mean, if we are to believe what Skywatcher said and what, what's his name said, it happens every time. It's almost like a 99, 100%, reliability. And if we know that psi abilities are real, probably everybody has them. I mean, I can't imagine. I don't know if I'm buying this whole it's only like that 1% of people can do this. I don't think that's true.
No.
It seems like we're not far away from somebody just publicly summoning a craft and getting it to come down, and we might have some other weird third scenario where it's not a government disclosure and it's not a full-on invasion or open contact thing, but we might have some kind of other thing where people just figure out how to start doing it. And maybe something weirder happens.
The CE5 community is there's hundreds of thousands of people in the CE5 community now.
Yeah.
When I started, I created the first CE5 social network groups in 2008, 2009, and there were like a few hundred people. Now there's just you can't even keep up with it now. Not doesn't mean everybody who's there is like a serious participant, but it's way bigger now than it ever was. If I had an intuition about it, which I don't know is accurate, is that the defense systems are better. That such, you don't hear about sightings like Stevensville anymore, or the O'Hare Airport thing, or the Phoenix Lights, and I think that has something to do with the defense systems that are up now, maybe, right? That we don't, if you go back, there's a lot of really awesome encounters and sighting stories that, Yeah.
Well, that was the whole concept right behind SDI, was that it was a dual use technology. It was strategic missile defense, but also strategic Earth defense, just in case, I guess. Like they were trying to really.
Yeah, I believe that's true. I totally, and I think that's probably why Reagan was partially read in.
Right. That makes sense because it makes sense in light of that UN speech that he gives, right?
He said it several times.
Right.
And even, I think, was it his wife or Gorbachev's wife made a statement saying, we can't get rid of the nuclear weapons because of the aliens.
Who said that?
It was
Gorbachev?
Gorbachev's wife or his wife. I said
we can't. Was there ever any more context? Like we can't because we need them.
Unfortunately,
to defend?
The context is it's quite common in Russian humor to do stuff like that.
Is it?
It happened last month actually as well. There was a Russian politician interviewed on some television show, and he said the same, a very similar thing.
Yeah.
Interesting. James, sorry. Good.
No, go ahead.
A second ago, you were talking about CE5 and how long you've been doing it, almost 20 years, it seems like. Have you seen, have protocols changed over the years? Or is it still kind of used the same way in your experience?
I mean, there's been renditions of CE5 as far back as humans go, like different methods to interact with non-human intelligence, right? Magic or whatever you want to call it. There's always been some kind of protocol. Stephen Greer made it popular. And I like Stephen Greer's method just because it's simplified. It's kind of fail-proof. It's training wheels. But anybody who's practicing CE5 ultimately is going to take the protocols and make it their own and turn it into something complete. Like Chris Bledsoe, right? He's not doing anything like the CE5 protocols. He's doing his own thing. And I do believe that it has probably worked in a number of scenarios for him. I do think that he is a genuine experiencer, despite whatever hijacking was done by the intelligence community on him and his messaging and that whole thing. But again, Mission Rama was doing it in the 1970s. There was a group in South America, in Lima, Peru, called Mission Rama. They were doing basically, they started out with automatic writing, which is like, you're basically scribbling and psychically receiving a message until words come out. And you don't even know the words until you read them afterwards. And of course, he's told to go to this location with his family and friends, and they go and they see a very physical craft, but they were doing, allegedly the non-human intelligence were telling them you got to do concentration exercise, meditation, a vegetarian diet, and all this kind of stuff. And they were very successful. There is a great video. I've included clips of it in a few of my videos. I made a video on Mission Rama where I include the clip in about the middle of the video. And this was taken by, I believe it was in South America. It was a newscast group. So it wasn't just like, Joe with a camcorder. It was actually a news production camera that went with Mission Rama to do the protocols. And they got a recording of what I would consider for the time in the 1970s, very convincing video footage.
Cool.
So I was going to say the protocols, eventually it comes down to intention and energy, just.
I have a follow-up on that because there's also, there's the C5 and trying to like commune with these things and make them commune with you. But what do you think about the other forms of contact, like channeling and like other forms, like for example, what Dr. Andrea Puharich was doing back in the 50s and then 70s? What's your take on that? Do you think that is also another level, or it's the same thing? What's your take?
I don't want to call it the same thing in the sense that, like, if somebody is using DMT or psychedelics and they have some kind of interaction, I don't think that's the same as CE5, just as I don't think necessarily channeling is CE5. Although there are correlations and the kind of, as my friend Exo Academian would call it, the point of convergence is consciousness, right? So I think that these are different modalities and they have different, it's a different variation. So I actually really interesting though, Daryl Anka, who's known as the channel for Bashar, which super interesting dude. I'd love to talk to the guy. Never had the chance, but his whole thing started with a daytime sighting of a triangle. And in the movie that he did, the documentary, his friends and family that were there, confirmed that they were driving, and I think it was California in the middle of the day. And there was just this freaking triangle that was like 1,000 feet away or something. And somehow that contact, that encounter, that close encounter sighting, whatever you want to call it, initiated him into the whole channeling thing, right? He says that event is what led him into the channeling thing, and he explains how and why. So I don't want to negate it, but I do want to say that like things like CE5 is kind of its own thing, its own process and practice, and channeling is kind of its own thing. Yeah, there's a space where they connect and you can kind of cross-examine them, but I do think that they stand on their own as well.
I wonder if there's if it's even possible, and I've thought about this. I think Pavel, you and I have talked about this a little bit. If there's could be like a Monroe Institute, but for general like psi abilities, like broadly, right? Like a psi. Could there be like a I don't know, like an X-Men style psi academy that you could go to?
I'm over here in Westchester, so that's where the
Sure it was, yeah.
the gifted school for Xavier or whatever they call it, the school for the gifted is or was in the comic world.
If I were somebody like Bob Bigelow, right? Like
you gotta be the thing is, and I don't want to be like paranoid and whatever, is there, it's like you have to be so careful. I mean, because the intelligence people, they go around trying to recruit and surveil these people.
Yeah.
And I don't doubt that the whole, thing with the DNA, like
you're talking about people with psi abilities
being recruited. Yeah, sure.
Being recruited.
I don't think it's that uncommon. I'm not convinced it is. I don't think that it's like 1 in a million thing. I think this is
but I also think that people
everybody
that display a certain level of it,
sure,
even unconscious competency, we'll call it, are under surveillance, right?
God, don't you think that would be a lot of people though?
Maybe it is.
I think
they're probably looking for outliers, right? Like anybody can play basketball, but there's probably a smaller percent of people that excel at it naturally. I think you can take anybody and train them and bring them to a certain level, but there's just going to be the Ingo Swans of the world, right?
I wonder how you would identify
like psi
those
scouts, like psi ability scouts.
They have a protocol for identifying those kind of people.
Yeah, trauma.
Yeah,
well, I mean, do they?
That's a way of instigating it.
Yeah.
Dr. Julia Mosbridge is one of those people that I think has been like sourced since she was like really young, and I've heard multiple times that people who interact with her, they sense like she has like a really strong presence to her, that is like really involving. Like whenever you're with her, it's like her reality that you step into, and something kind of changes.
On this Jujutsu Kaisen front, for anybody who watches, it's like the domain expansion, right? Like you create your own psychic domain, and you're dominating from a non-physical, that would be considered remote influence.
But that's a teachable skill. I think so. That's like it's like a muscle that everyone has. And I agree. Like not everyone's Michael Jordan.
Well, but the funny thing about Michael Jordan and what's his name, Gordon Maxwell, wrote about this in The Outliers, is that Michael Jordan was not like naturally gifted in the way that people assume he was. He was kicked off his high school team or whatever, and they said, "Listen, you suck." Basically, and he just worked so goddamn hard because people that actually have natural talents take it for granted, and they're like kind of like this. But it's the people that put in the work, the 10,000 hours, right? That came from that, the 10,000 hours of work, they outperform the naturals.
That's what I'm driving at, right? So, like, imagine if you had a basketball school, right? Or
I'll give you an example.
You had a Psi Academy, right? And you could run people through it, and you had a class of 1,000 people, and they were working on it, and you were training them, and you taught them the techniques or showed them how to like access that stuff and refining it over time. I mean, you might find that, out of 1,000, maybe 100 from every group are outlier. Like, they just are that good. What would happen if you could start to, like, I don't know, crank those people out at scale?
I don't think they want to do that. I think they want to take people like that and bring them in and make them sign NDAs, But I mean, there's that book, China Super Psychics, right? That was written by Paul Dong. And it's talking about, China has such a huge population. So they were able to identify a lot of people because they have like 10 times the amount of population. So they have 10 times the amount of psychics. And they were, studying these children that were displaying all these like really advanced psychic abilities, for what that's worth. And Paul Dong, of course, was corresponding with Hal Puthoff, coincidentally.
Did he document in his writings what they had verified to be possible? Like, what is the list of psychic abilities that are really? There's
like stuff you wouldn't believe. Like stuff like that some of these kids were able to take objects and put them through other objects. Like not just like
David Blaine stuff.
Right, but they're kids, that right. But yeah, they're obviously, we had the same thing where kids would be able to hold a book or touch a book with their hand and be able to read it, without eyes. The seeing without eyes thing was a big thing for that. They could allegedly read with their feet, their nose, their eyes, anything they came into contact with, they can just tell you everything about it. Man, there was a ton of that stuff. But there was also the interesting part to me was, of course, is like the telekinetic stuff, because it's like, wait, how do you do that, right? Like, I can see like, okay, we're all tapped into this consciousness and we're able to pick out different bits of information non-locally in the field. That to me seems like, okay, I get that, but the telekinetic stuff is super interesting. I don't doubt it, but I've never seen like a reliable telekinetic effect in real life that I thought was genuine.
I've never seen it demonstrated in a way that's been convincing.
The spoon bending thing, right? Like I've done that, right? And a part of me is always like, maybe it's just like I just bent it, and right, like even though there's the metal, like it doesn't bend the way it does, but maybe you're warming it up, or to me that's still like cheating.
Well, yeah, like the test would be, can you bend anything else? Like Johnny Carson did this to Uri Geller. He was like, you can't bend those spoons, but I brought some spoons that we got from the kitchen.
Or this piece of rebar. Bend this piece of rebar.
But people have done stuff like that. But it's still a physical force applied. The interesting stuff to me is like there's an Instagram page called The Art of Living, and it's a yoga school. I know them for many years because I studied some of their information because I have studied yoga. And The Art of Living, I forget the guru's name from that school, but they, in the past few years, they've been putting out all this alleged telekinetic stuff, which you look on Instagram, it's like freaking crazy. Like I don't know what to make of it. And I actually sent something to Chris Ramsey and said, hey, what do you think of this? He never got back to me. But there are kids, like, they're holding the spoon, but they're not pushing it or anything. It's just bending on its own. And you see the kids doing this. You see like a 1 minute clip. So you don't see before, you don't see after. There's not enough context there for me to make a determination one way or the other. It'd be cool if Chris Ramsey did an episode on it, because he's a magician and he knows like a lot of that sleight of hand trick stuff.
Where are these videos? Can we see one?
Yeah, I actually have to run in a minute, but look up Art of Living. And I always see it on Instagram, and it's a yoga school, but they have a special school for kids to teach them psychic abilities. And obviously in yoga we talk about this as the siddhis, right? The extra normal powers of the mind, because the reality is illusion itself, right? It's Maya. So of course it's malleable, just like our consciousness and our mind and our thoughts are malleable. So is this reality.
If
That's
There's a guy at Contact actually doing a psychokinesis workshop. So maybe we check that out.
Is this what we're talking about? Does this look familiar?
That's the right branding, right? Yeah, that looks the art of living. Yeah,
Right thought at the right time. And that right thought at the right time is called intuition. Welcome to the world of intuition.
Oh, this is dope as hell. This is some real Jedi shit right here.
Sri Sri
They do a ton of
Ravishankar's
stuff.
The
They-
Art
they
of
bend
Living
spoons.
Intuition.
Wow.
they bend spoons without like bending it with their hands, right? Like even if it's bent into a bunch of loops, they're holding the spoon and it's just bending. And I don't think like an 8-year-old kid. They have all the kids doing it.
Really interesting.
Wow.
It is. Yeah, I mean, I don't think these kids are just like playing along, and I mean, they could be kind of like pushed in that way subtly without knowing it. But some of the stuff I think is really freaking cool. So I don't know. I don't know.
Wow. That's
Some-
I keep remembering that clip from Dr. Dean Radin talking about the Inquisition and how that whole pursuit of witches, quote unquote, kind of erased the psi gene from that period of time.
Right.
And he found that the majority of people in the world actually have this gene, but that was erased back then. I just remember this. And like in India, for example, they didn't have that because they didn't have an Inquisition there. So
Right.
it kind of blossomed there, you would think, or in China too. That book, actually, you recommended it to me. You told me about it the first time I heard it, and I looked for it, and it's really good.
You can find the PDF online, guys.
Yeah,
But they have spoon bending in these videos, especially if you go on the Instagram. There we go. Look at that. I don't think
Oh.
that's doing some
Whoa.
kind of
Whoa. Hold up. Let's,
I don't think that's being faked, right? Like
All right.
maybe there's something before going on we don't
And the
see.
next level will blow your mind.
blow
With continued
your
practice,
mind.
these kids begin connecting with matter itself, bending spoons using only their intention. Other beautiful exercises involve deeply relaxing the mind and traveling within. After this, kids are able to access lost languages or ancient scriptures. Some of what they decipher turns out to be languages that were once lost or hidden at other times.
Is this one of those schools that super rich people send their kids to get rid of them for a couple of months and then they come back and
No,
it's like,
there's
look,
a
I wrote
couple-
some ancient languages. And,
Come
there's a
back a prophet,
couple in
please.
Mexico. There's a couple in Mexico. It's
Really?
not really that
Just
expensive.
guys, I got to cut out.
James, you got to go. Oh, man.
Yeah, sorry,
Come back
I gotta-
again, please.
Please
Def-
come back.
Thank
We'll
you,
bump Andy
James.
anytime for you.
Yeah, let me know next time that you want to bump Andy. Just let me know.
Yeah, okay.
It's every
got
time,
it.
dude. It's every time. Yeah.
Everybody, James Iandoli from Engaging the Phenomenon. Let's hear it for James. Big
One of
shout
the
out.
best
you,
podcasts out
James.
there.
We'll
Thanks,
definitely,
James.
we got to do another one, guys, or maybe we'll do like an engaging the phenomenon one, or however we do it, man.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Let's do it.
Anytime.
All right, guys,
All right.
take care. Thanks for having me
Later.
on.
Good
It's been
day.
great
Bye,
talking.
Of course.
James.
Take care.
Take it.
That was that intuition talk was really interesting. I don't know if you guys have ever done this, but I do these walks every night, and there's times when I try to I close my eyes and trust that I know where to walk and not trip over things. And if you can get past the worry about tripping, it can kind of work sometimes. It's very bizarre. Like something is sort of guiding me when I'm testing myself.
It's really astonishing how much is there for you and available to you when you start turning off all your other senses and you still realize how much data is around that you have access to. This is what's so interesting about this telekinesis idea. It whatever the super spectrum is, you're swimming in it. right now, I mean, even in a meat suit, you're still in it. You're submerged in that field. Your consciousness is still interacting with it. So I've always wanted one of those isolation tanks to do, because I think you can really, if you get into a meditative practice, it doesn't even have to be complicated. You can just sit quietly in the dark for 15 minutes with no phone, no anything, no music, no lights. Just turn all that shit off and just let your mind calm down. And when you get quiet, you can hear things. You get impressions. And I think that is the beginning of the psychic journey that most people never even bother to look at. They're so focused on like, I got to get to work. I got to make breakfast. I got, whatever.
Yeah.
And you're looking at your phone every 5 seconds. So there's never any downtime. If you go for a walk and you close your eyes, look what happens. That's pretty cool. I
think there are times in everyday living where you kind of integrate this stuff and don't equate it to the same thing. So just the complexity alone, like I've noticed that I catch things a lot without looking. Like I will be able to, if I tried now, I'd fail. But like I routinely, I'm trying to do a million jobs at once. Like first thing in the morning, like I will grab something off the side and just throw it to my other hand and catch it without like really thinking about it.
Sure.
But the complexity that actually does sit behind that, even if it's not some sort of strange extra power, it's unimaginable just to be able to do that kind of prediction with regular brain activity. All we're talking about really is identifying those extreme edges of that intuitive complexity. So when we're talking about like you talked about like sort of knowing where you're going without looking.
Yeah.
The case in point here, some blind people walk perfectly well just by using sound. Like we could try that for 5 years from right now and not get anywhere, but those guys have been doing it their entire life, and it quite literally is another superpower at this point.
Well, and when you lose one sense, your other senses get stronger. You rely on
You can practice it, like you can even blindfold yourself or close your eyes and try to walk around your own house at night, in the dark. And I know it sounds silly, like, oh, I'm going to fall over all my kids' shit that's all over the floor. But I mean, if you can get yourself around in a familiar space, that's a good way to start practicing what it's like to feel that. And I think the more you engage with your consciousness, the more it grows. This is something David Lynch was really good at explaining this. He was like, there's so many levels of enjoyment you can get from a simple donut, right? There's the sugar, there's the sugar rush of eating the donut, but then there's like the flavor, and then there's the chewiness, and there's all of these layers to it. And as your consciousness expands, you get more out of every bite of that donut because the experience gets bigger. And that's what he's always taught. Transcendental meditation just allows that to flourish and grow. I would want to take a transcendental meditation class. Actually, I haven't signed up for one. Yet,
I think there's like a blurry line that I just can't quite put my finger on there, where, I think this is a biological process and it needs practice and it needs repetition. But there's also, because for example, I had an NDE, and then there have been certain times when I am obliged or urged to do something because I hear something in my head that goes, you got to do this. And that feels foreign. That doesn't feel like me. That doesn't feel like my intuition. So there's a blurry line there that yes. And I don't know if like that's because my antenna is open but it's definitely not me sometimes that tells me you got to wake up to move your car. And then 2 minutes later, somebody's shot right there where you had your car, That's something that I'm trying to understand how it happens or why it happens, but that doesn't feel like it's me.
I think your antenna is always on. I think most of the time we've got the music turned up so loud we can't hear anything else. You know what I mean? Like you got your AirPods in and you're doing the dishes, or how often in decades past, there was a lot of downtime, a lot of quiet time. You're just sitting there, there's no phone, there's no cell phone. If it's 1992, you're just looking at your foot waiting on the bus and you're quiet. Your mind is quiet. You have opportunities for it to be quiet. And when it quiets down, you hear those. I hear it all the time. I've had that come to me all the time. A voice, you'll just tell you something. And sometimes it's a little piece of information that doesn't make sense for 2 or 3 days. And then somehow it clicks 3 days later. It makes perfect sense in the context of whatever happens. But I think a lot of it is simpler than we might think. It's just getting into that quiet headspace where you can hear it, you know? Are you a headphones all the time guy? Or are you like a Max headphones guy?
Me?
Yeah, like AirPods, earbuds all the time. You guys, just any of it.
Max volume.
Not all the
music,
time.
max volume all the time. Really?
How much
I
time
like
do you ever
to hear.
spend in total silence?
I like to hear the voices in my head, though. So not all the time.
Yeah, I'm pretty much sound all the time in some fashion at the moment. But,
Where I live, it's loud. There's not much silence where I live. Not much quiet.
I mean, think about that. You know, just like how much out of your entire life, how many minutes out of every single day cycle is it just silent, where you're not, you know, for more than 60 seconds? Almost never.
Almost
should we do it right now?
No.
That's one way to kill it.
So uncomfortable.
Speaking of which, though, if we're talking about, you know, opening up your, I think, Pavel, you said widening the antenna. We did get the sleeping dog doc, and within which there was the notion that perhaps if you open up your antenna a little bit too much, you might let somebody else in. So we could read that. I think you talked about it on your interview, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely.
But maybe we could share that now. And
Sure. As soon as I saw the documentary a couple months ago, this thing popped up on the screen, and you know, Jeremy was sitting behind me. It was in a hotel room, and I was like, "What is this, buddy?" And yeah, go ahead and read it, and then we'll talk about it.
who wants to play paper?
Who wants to play Houston? Who wants to play Houston?
What is it? It says proposed. I can barely. I gotta make my screen.
I can read it. I can read it.
Go ahead.
Proposed activities. A site investigation. In brackets, SI should be undertaken to determine alien inorganic compounds or other biochemicals have been disposed of at this site, and to determine the presence and or extent of any soil or groundwater contamination that may be the result of material disposed of at this site. This is the part that just opens up a massive can of worms that you could be forgiven for ignoring if you were really into ufology, but now I don't think we can. Local residents should be checked for evidence that they are being symbiotically manipulated by surviving aliens. And then there's a couple of phone numbers. That's just... I mean, this is from the Los Alamos, the IT security guy. Is that right?
No. This is
not him.
completely different. That's not from that file dump. This is something that I know Jeremy's been working on for 10 plus years.
I just ran this through the mainframe, and it says here it's coming back out on the printout now. That phone number matches historically archived government documents for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in Albuquerque District in New Mexico.
It's Walker Air Force Base, which also is Roswell.
Defense environment, specifically in public records from the 1990s and early 2000s. It was the direct office line for the district's DERP, this is awesome, FUDS, DERPFUDS, Defense Environmental, DERPFUDS.com, Defense Environmental Restoration Program for formerly used defense sites. It appears in several technical and environmental assessment reports regarding decommissioned military installations in New Mexico, such as the Atlas F missile silos associated with former Walker Air Force Base near Roswell, the Bonham Farms water well site, and other legacy hazardous material cleanup sites. Okay. Yeah. There you go. That's
Should we call the number?
You want to call it right now?
Call it right now.
Sure. Give me one of the numbers.
Whoa.
All right, here we go, guys.
Hang on.
505.
Hold on, I got a phone for this.
77766
766.
1773. Oh, we need to use the rotary.
It's not plugged in.
Welcome to Verizon Wireless. Your call cannot be completed as dialed.
Okay, give me the other one.
What's the other one? I don't have the thing.
505
505
766
766
2713 012121. Oh, jeez.
Okay, they're both dead.
Interesting.
And now you're on a list.
You know what's
again.
weird?
Another list.
In full transparency, I called one of those numbers a couple months ago, and it did ring. So those numbers are now disconnected. That's weird. That's funny.
You always bring the magic every week, Dan. There's something, you always say something that's completely unexpected and just makes the show that much better.
Cool.
Wow. Should we talk about the documentary in just broad terms before we drill down on this one thing?
Sure. Everyone's seen it, right?
I've seen an hour and 10 minutes of it. I'm not done yet.
Oh, you missed the best part.
I know. I just got past, but I'll speak on what I did see, and then I don't care if you guys spoil the rest for me, but I'm happy to talk about Lear.
I mean, for me, one of the better parts, I mean, the whole thing is really, really cool. I really liked it because, you know, I'm a journalist and I understand that level of pressure that sometimes comes with this line of work. I think that when the topic is like more mainstream and widespread, documentaries like these are going to be like must see material, so you can get more acclimated to everything that's going on. And it just goes to show how central Jeremy and George have been to everything that's happening. Like, because you can talk about Tom DeLonge, that sort of kickstarted a lot of this, but if you go back decades, the one who really kickstarted it all is George Knapp. And that connection that Corbell did independently to John Lear, and then George Knapp also did it independently on himself. And those and they both accept that John Lear was like their entry point to this whole thing. That was poetic. I really like that whole thing. And it's really weird that it's a kind of sad how you see the whole interaction between John Lear, the camera, and all the just random shit that he just says at times. You can tell that Jeremy doesn't believe everything. It's pretty clear, but it's like this guy has lived quite a life, you know? I loved it, really.
I know people want to watch it and see it as like a UFO documentary, and part of it is, but I think really it's an amazing movie about journalism and the responsibility and the dangers of journalists. And you kind of get to see the process more than you usually see. And it reminded me, there's a documentary on Netflix called The Cover-Up about Cy Hirsch, who was an incredible journalist for the last like 40, 50 years. And I think this is a nice companion piece just about journalism. And it has some really cool UFO shit in there. But
it's a great,
that was great
character study on Jeremy. And it was actually really, what I found really striking was that he had told this story in Austin when we were at dinner. I didn't realize that was what this would be, but he, kind of talked to, when I was sitting next to him, we were talking about John Lear at one point. I forget when this was, probably later on in the day. And he was telling me the whole thing about John Lear. And then I'm watching it and I'm like, oh, wow, now I get to see this. All this footage that he shot with John, and go to his house. And hey, James, you're back. Are you back?
The kids? Yeah, I'm back.
All right.
Gavel, shut up that damn dog.
We're talking about sleeping dog.
Don't kick a sleeping dog.
But Lear was so cool when he comes on Knapp's show. And then when Jeremy meets him, it's like this weird Mr. Miyagi relationship, but it's like it's interesting to me how quickly Jeremy is like realizes that John is completely out to lunch, and then just has this relationship then with this guy who is obviously, you know, still a very compelling figure, and he has a lot of charisma, and he definitely has a lot of interesting stories, and he's still, you know, he's an interesting character, but not for the original reason that he thought. And yeah, like Pablo, like you said, then this connection with George Knapp, through that he finds his way to George. It's so much cool backstory that I'd never realized. And I mean, being able to see like his early days, how he goes from being an artist and a martial artist to being basically like a guerrilla journalist in a field that has like 3 people in it. And it's like George Knapp is the only other guy doing that. And then he just has to figure it out as he goes. I was blown away by it. I really have much more respect for Jeremy and the work that he does now. And I've only seen the first hour, but it was really, really good.
Xander, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, if anything, it's I can't stop with the little tiny Bob details. Whenever I get anything new to contextualize Bob's story with, like, you could tell, regardless of the validity of Bob's story, which I can't say for 100% certainty is real, but I do believe him. He at least believes what Jeremy is going through, which says a lot, because if, in my eyes, if Bob was a grifter or whatever you want to call it,
good point,
and he was hearing Jeremy go through all of these difficult times and stuff, he would pick up on that and think, oh, I bet he's getting fed just so much rubbish like I've fed him. So he probably wouldn't show so much concern, but at the end of the day, he's telling Jeremy, like, I would think very seriously about going forwards with what you're planning to do and things. So I found that quite interesting, and it was nice to see Bob interact with Leah as
Those
well.
are great moments. Those are awesome.
Not something we've seen much of.
Really weird to watch the two of, like, and for people, I'm not going to spoil anything, but basically the scene is hilarious because it's like, it's Bob and John Lear, and Bob is like sitting next to him. He's like, dude, are you serious about like some of the stuff?
Come on, John. What the fuck?
What the fuck, John? Like, what do you what do you believe here? It's like he falls in love.
Nonsense, John.
John
was
falls
in
in love with
UFO.
the fucking guy, the sleeper. What was that?
Yeah.
I never even knew about the sleeper part.
No, neither did I.
I'm familiar with John Lear, but I didn't know about the sleeper, and that's where he was deriving a majority of his information from.
Can we talk about that bit of the story, Dan? Do you think that's okay without ruining anything for people, or
sure? Yeah, it's not a big part of the film, but yeah, go for it.
It's basically John Lear, who people will know from those early George Knapp interviews. He comes across as a very television, like, charismatic type of a personality in a cool suit. CIA pilot, you know, he's got all of the gravitas of somebody who knows some shit. And he hits the scene and he starts talking about all of these different things. And as Jeremy is getting into the world of reporting on this topic, he discovers John and starts to try and chase him down to get in contact and learn more from John Lear. But basically, when he meets John, he finds out that there's a little bit more going on with John than he originally bargained for, and that John had fallen down a rabbit hole on abovetopsecret.com back in like the mid 1990s or something.
UFO
It was like,
OGs all know what Above Top Secret. It was it's a wild website. It was a blast. Good info, some bad info, but a lot of characters on there.
Take over. Tell this next part, Dan. What happens with Above
Sure. So
Top Secret?
he kind of connects with this guy who calls himself Sleeper, and Sleeper claims to be like an insider who's feeding John all kinds of secrets and information about aliens and Area 51 and all that kind of stuff. And at one point he gives John like a ticket, meaning like a safe passage to the other world or to heaven or whatever after he passes away. And John takes it as like, this is an actual, Sleeper gave me a real ticket. Like, this is a real thing. And Jeremy actually, his interview with Chris Ramsey that's out now, I watched it last night. He clarifies that it didn't come across in the film, but Sleeper doing that was not him fucking with John. It was actually him because at that point John is already dying. He knows that he's on his way out, and Sleeper gives him this like ticket to the afterlife, and he wasn't messing with him. It was a way to make him comfortable and to make him feel comforted and to not worry. So it actually was a very sweet thing. But Jeremy said that Sleeper was a well-intentioned, very, very, very kind guy, and it didn't totally come across in the film that way. But he said it wasn't like nefarious. He may have gotten carried away, but it was they actually had a pretty beautiful friendship.
But there's another layer to this, because Sleeper had written all of these posts on and posted them to Above Top Secret, which had a robust forum. This is like pre-Reddit. This is where the action was in this whole space, was on this website at that time. And so you would go in there and you'd find these threads, and a lot of times they were just, crazy threads, but he would write stuff about like the secret space program and like alien contact and all this. And John fell down the rabbit hole all the way on this guy, right? He was basically 100% bought in. Yeah. So that when he gives him the ticket, which is literally a little, like a Post-it note that says like, let John in, or, you're a good angel.
Your soul John. Or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Let him, it's like a little note, like you'd write on a napkin. It wasn't like a thing that was printed or anything. And he gives it to him, and John's like, this is real. Like this guy knows how the moon was constructed and towed into orbit, 8 billion or 20 billion years ago.
It was made on Jupiter and towed to Earth as a guard post.
20 billion years ago.
20 billion years ago is what this needs, regardless of its authenticity. It needs a Dreamland episode to just read it in full.
Xander's already scripting it right now.
Oh, yeah. I don't need to script anything. I can just read that book.
And John, so I like John Lear's stuff. I kind of fell down the rabbit hole with him too. And I got to a point where I was like, I started with the George Knapp stuff, very presentable, very digestible, and pretty much basic UFO knowledge now, like your 101 kind of stuff. And then when you go a little bit further, like years later, he's talking about there are crystal castles on the moon that are like 3 miles high, made out of some kind of crystal, and you can see them in pictures. And he's showing pictures. He's got these big pictures, and he's like, look, it's right there. You can see it. You can see it with your own eyes. I'm not making it up. It's right there. And you look at, and you're like, there's nothing there. It's just like a blob, on a fucking blurry photo. And he's really like
Paul Benowitz.
What the fuck, John?
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like, it was kind of like that. And I see, and as Jeremy is telling the story of his relationship with John, it becomes clear that this would be an amazing, just a film, someone to explore this relationship. But John's declining. Jeremy is now caring for him in some ways and taking over the role of like a helper and helping him with his shop and his studio. And it was so cool. I'm like, wow, this guy's origin story is so weird. And so it's like you couldn't write this.
It feels synchronistic as well. I feel it's like Jeremy didn't get a choice in any of this. It's like he was kind of pushed into doing everything he's done basically. Obviously, he's doing it out of passion, but it's like every step was presented to him before he decided that was the step he was going to take, basically.
Something that really got me was that moment with and how participative his mother was in that moment in the table when he just like kind of lost it a little bit. That really got to me because something that's been happening lately with the work that I'm doing is that I get a lot of questions from my family who believe that this is real, and they go like, "Are you okay?" Because they've seen me speak with like Dr. John Blitch and like people from the military and Burleson and all that. It's like, luckily, because I think this is where also you, James, you haven't really gotten into a lot of trouble because you know what to ask and when to ask, which is very important, and also which stories not to touch because you know that that's probably going to get a target on your back. Can you talk a little bit about that though, as somebody who's been in this space a lot longer than pretty much all of us?
What about stories that you're not supposed to talk about?
Yeah, and about
Tell all
that
those stories,
feeling.
please. Tell all the stories.
Well,
No.
I mean,
about that feeling that Jeremy got at a certain point, because there's a level of pressure that comes with the territory and with knowing stuff that is very heavy sometimes. And how do you handle that?
I mean, for me, I've never gotten any threats or anything like that. George Knapp, I mean, he said he never had somebody knock on his door. I know he's received threats just from being a media guy, right? Being somebody who's a reporter and a award-winning journalist. But there's definitely conversations that are discouraged, especially if you're speaking to somebody who is allegedly involved in the background stuff. Like there's just certain questions that, like, even in the simplest form, right? Like where, if you bring up a certain topic, you're going to shut that conversation down. So if you have somebody like Eric Davis or Jacques Vallée or Gary Nolan, and you're talking about some stuff and they're actually opening up a little, and then you bring something up and it just will shut the conversation down, then
almost like if you're talking to Colin Kelleher and George Knapp and you bring up Zodiac, something like that, maybe.
The classic moment.
I went a little far there, but I figured this is my only chance to really do it. So
it was great.
And there, I mean, I don't, for what it is, I had some off the record conversations with George Knapp about that. And, so if somebody wants to pressure Jeremy won't do it. He's too close to him. But George knows way more about that. George has the goods on that story, and he can't go forward with it without said individuals going on the record, because it's just another UFO story. And he has to have people come forward on it. Otherwise, it's just another meaningless rumor in UFO land. But again, in that interview, we did bring up David Grush coming across that program. And
did Grush ever say Zodiac?
No, but
okay.
But when I asked George about it, and in relation to Grush, he said, I think that Grush bumped fists with those guys.
Whoa.
And, yeah.
Wow.
And Colin, obviously, if he can't talk about it, that doesn't mean that he was a part of the program. But if he, as an example, if he got a read-in, right? Because in the legacy program, if they're going to bring you in, they give you a historical bit of the program. So if they're going to read you into that, that would be part of the historical aspect of the legacy program. So even just if you had a need to know basis for whatever reason of some aspect of the program, the historical read-in is something you will receive.
The historical read-in is the same for everyone who gets it.
I don't know that. And again, I don't know if there's passage material within that. But there was a guy who
tell people what passage material is for people who don't know.
Yeah, I mean, even Bob. I don't know if Bob Lazar called it such, but if you're getting a read-in and they give you material, so if you speak about it and there's a certain detail, they can identify you, they can trace it back to you because the passage material is for you. So if you're talking about it, they can identify the source of the leak.
So this containers word that Bob uses could be a way, like it's like putting a dye in your plumbing to see where the leak is. Like you could.
I mean, element 115 could have been the passage material.
Could have been the number. Just like the
Right.
number of time that humans have had their genetic material altered. It was 65 or 64, and they may have given somebody 30, and then that's the only thing they need to switch.
Well, and what's interesting about the Bob Lazar story is like the whole thing could have been intentionally meant to leak, and the whole red herring to the story was element 115. Even if Bob Lazar took a piece of it, right? Like, is he able to test it to see if it's going to produce the effect. I don't know. But
wasn't that cloud chamber test? Wasn't that with his material?
It allegedly was, but that, I mean, it could create that effect without being actually element 115. I mean, I don't really know.
Has he claimed? Is this? Do you think this is a real claim that he's like, he actually has physical possession of this,
I believe,
or is this like an insurance thing where he's like, yeah, maybe I do.
He did an interview. He said go ahead, Jim. Sorry.
No, he said he had a piece. Like he said that.
I wonder if it would be possible to find it. Like, could you find? I don't know. Like, if somebody had plutonium, could you find it from a distance? You know, like is element one
in the Chris Ramsey Jeremy interview that came out today? Jeremy says that during one of Bob's interviews, the 115 is behind him on a shelf in a container, and no one knows that. But it's been on film before. He had it hidden in an interview in plain sight, which I hadn't heard that before.
In terms of it being detectable, like radioactively, probably not, because you could handle this stuff with your hands.
Yeah.
So it wasn't radioactive in that it wasn't very radioactive. So
Timothy Taylor knew what he was looking for, and the gifting field be a detector that he rigged. So I'm sure that if you want to make a device that can track something as rare as that, you probably could.
Sure.
Yeah, or he's got a detector that detects something else. I don't know. Yeah. Well,
I imagine if
they
could detect it, he would have been like,
when the reactor
they would have arrested
running,
him by now.
It is radioactive because, provided Lazar's interpretation is correct, it is transmuted into 116, which then immediately decays. So that is radioactive, and I guess that could be the thing that is detectable, particularly if it's in an active reactor. But I don't know. This is pretty much in the complete realms of speculation, really.
We by the way, we jumped over to this topic of the groundwater contamination, and that was right when you left, James. We should circle back on that and get your perspective on this. I don't want to muddy the water here, but that was another thread that we started on, and we never actually finished that thread.
So, yeah, what do you guys think symbiotic manipulation means to you guys?
I mean, it's body snatchers.
I mean, yeah, this reminds me of Venom, right? We are Venom.
But it's been pointed out that symbiosis usually means something that benefits both hosts, both parties. So I got a message from someone, and she's very, very smart, and she speculated that maybe the symbiotic manipulation could be that once this stuff gets into you, it kind of can give you the gifts of remote viewing or certain kind of intuitions, where it kind of like, because Jeremy talked about how the worry was that it alters human DNA, but it doesn't mean it alters it for better or for worse. So it might be something that kind of upgrades a person to give them more abilities, which would be symbiosis in a way.
Midichlorians.
Yeah, kind of. Sure.
I mean, it's definitely an interesting idea.
Yeah.
And in some regards, if that were true, it could explain some of the post-contact effects, because again, a lot of these people, and it's like, with contact, you don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg, whether the people are having encounters because of their constitution, or does the interaction cause the augmentation of their consciousness
or unlock something. Yeah.
Right. Like enhances them, like Dr. Jacques Vallée talking about the Dr. X, or all these people that have the post-contact effect, where all of a sudden they have an opening in their awareness.
Mm-hmm.
That seems very intuitively correct, right? That feels right. You're talking up to an intelligence that has access to a larger field of view than we do, and maybe by like just that virtue of that connection, it just forces you to switch on a little bit more. And then once it's gone, that lingering effect remains, and you can still see things that you couldn't see before, or perceive things that you maybe couldn't.
Part of my thinking on that is, there's two ways to look at that I'm thinking of right now, is that if your aperture is like this, and then because you have an interaction with an advanced intelligence, another part of reality, your aperture all of a sudden becomes like this.
Yep.
And that doesn't go away because now you've perceived part of this non-physical reality, or it was non-physical at the time, but your exposure to it made a greater version of reality visible to you.
Yeah.
Or
That's the secret then. That's why they don't want open contact, because it would make everybody, it would
It would open
activate
their
everybody.
awareness.
Well, look, I mean,
and
James's story earlier, when he had his first kind of experience, and then it became a couple months of like consistent experiences. Correct? Like it happened. You had a bunch in a small period of time.
Yeah, but also the other kind of effect that I think is interesting is called entrainment, right? So if they're here and we're here, or in the consciousness, your ability to perceive reality around you, let's say your level of awareness, with entrainment, it's not like this one goes here or this one goes here. With entrainment, they kind of have a medium and they meet in the middle. So in interactions, when you're having contact, it raises your level of awareness to be able to interact. And so you have a new baseline, essentially.
Which means it should be theoretically possible to artificially like reproduce that again and again. And then you could switch on people. I mean,
ask Dr. Dean Radin.
If it's that simple.
And his nasal spray that he's talking about that can essentially turn on people's psi abilities.
Say, wait. Say what?
Yeah.
Please explain.
He's working on that. He told me a little bit about it. I'm not sure if they're like on human trials yet, but he's working on something that is a nasal spray.
Do we know what the main compound is, or what the main?
I asked him. He wouldn't say.
No way. I mean, if that is true, Dean Radin is very conservative to begin with. I know he's talking about psychic phenomenon, but if you ever spoken to him or watched him talk, he's very conserved. For him to go out on a limb and say that is because he is concerned greatly for what might happen to him or the research.
Yeah. And it was something that really strikes me about him and the research that he does is that he's very, very, very evidence-based. Like he's a scientist. He's written hundreds of papers about this stuff. And when we talked about that, I was like, whoa. So I had heard rumors that probably Dr. Nolan was also involved in something like that, but I don't know if he might be with Dr. Dean Radin specifically, but yeah, he did talk about that.
It says here, so I looked this up. It says on one of his articles here, breathe easy, non-invasive gene therapy for anxiety and memory boosting. Is this what you're talking about? Does this sound right? It says,
I wouldn't doubt if that's related.
The mechanism is gene silencing via a nasal spray. The therapy uses an intranasal delivery system to bypass the blood-brain barrier, a major hurdle in neurological medicine. It targets the HTR2A gene, which encodes the 5-HT2A serotonin receptor.
That's what I thought.
Oh, yeah.
So he made it more public now.
I would have done it slightly differently than that, but
that's what I was thinking too. Yeah.
Yeah. That works too. I mean, if you want to do it that way, that's fine.
I would have done it, but it doesn't matter what I would have done.
It says by reducing the number of these receptors in certain brain regions, the therapy appears to stabilize mood and improve cognitive clarity. We could all use a little bit of that. Well, okay. Promising preclinical results in anxiety reduction and memory boost.
But the way that Dean Radin was talking about was much more explicit in regards to psi.
Yeah. I wonder if I might not be looking at the right paper here. But.
No. I mean, don't get ahead of yourself because there might be something.
He might be masking it, right?
Like you would have to because you have to.
Yeah.
You have to be able to fund the research, and you can't fund it and say, "Hey, this is for psychic boosting." You have, just like the way that Dr. Gary Nolan was talking about the spectrum of autism and schizophrenia, right? Like you have to make a baseline science for people to accept it first, and then you put out the greater stuff afterwards, the hypothesis.
Cognigenics is developing IRNAi trademark, a precise, non-invasive intranasal RNA interference platform. A platform that delivers programmable therapeutics directly to key areas of the brain to modulate the neural circuits underlying mood, memory, and cognition, supporting lasting brain health and cognitive function across the lifespan. Wow. So they can make custom RNA medicines targeted at your brain function and just like update them. I mean, that sounds like,
yeah.
Wow, this is this is his website. I didn't know any of this.
Yo, Clint, hook us up.
Yeah,
Hook us up, brother.
sorry, I mean, just
Wow,
take over, but this is pretty interesting stuff here.
That's directly affecting emotions, chemically, essentially. That's what that does.
Well, and it's funny too, because meditation is said to boost psi, which I think that there's something to say for that. And in meditation, you're going to do similar things. You're going to reduce anxiety. You're going to have better control of your mood and emotions. You're going to be able to reduce the noise, right? The noise to signal in the brain, and who else? Who knows what else is going on? Neuroplasticity as well.
Yeah, like coherence, a level of coherence.
Yeah, but also through, I believe it was Harvard who did a study and said in as little as 2 weeks, the meditation practice was able to alter gray matter, and that's an old Harvard study, and there's been more since. So,
have you ever seen that demo that they do, the TM demo, where they have the girl wear the EEG?
Oh, and real quick, you said you wanted to do a TM class, and I'm just going to tell you all TM is. When Dr. Stephen Greer teaches a meditation course, he's teaching you TM, because Dr. Stephen Greer used to be a meditation teacher for Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, the founder of TM.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
I'm sure it's cool to go if you have a structure and you go to the TM course, but all TM is it's a mantra meditation. So if you've ever heard of Dr. Greer's mantra, the one he teaches, he transmits, I received that mantra from him, but he does it publicly too. That's the advanced TM technique.
It's more advanced than what the standard TM technique is.
Because there's the regular TM, they give you 2 syllables, and that's your mantra. And there was like a kind of scam thing. They found out that they were giving it to everybody based on their birthday, the year and the month they were born. But there's Vedical astrological reasons for that. They didn't just say, hey, hit just whatever. So I don't think that was disingenuous in that way. But everybody receives their own mantra. They're not allowed to tell anybody what it is. But Transcendental Meditation had a city program, like the cities, the advanced psychic powers that yogis gain through practice. So Transcendental Meditation, they had a city, like a super ability program, basically for advanced students. And I believe that what Greer is teaching basically is that.
Oh, well, that's what I'm talking about. The a real life Jedi school or something like it.
There's many of them, right? Like, there's Rosicrucianism, there's yoga, there's Buddhism, and there's a million systems. So they all have their own take on how to.
But none of them are available in strip malls across America. This is what I'm saying.
They are. If people get their head out of their ass
next to a Pizza Hut and a jiu-jitsu school.
Players. Yeah,
it's there. It's there for everybody to see.
Yeah.
But it's like who actually wants to do the work? Nobody wants to do the work, right? Even for remote viewers, it's not just like they do like 10 seconds, like they have to practice, right? So any of that stuff has to be developed. But many of the traditional schools will tell you, the development of those abilities is natural, but don't chase it because it's a distraction from the ultimate goal, which I do think probably has validity to it, but not that it should be completely discouraged or ignored.
You mean the finding a particular school of thought and adopting that as your like mechanism for interacting with this?
Well, most schools of enlightenment will tell you don't get hung on to the cities or the psychic powers or stuff, because number one, it will consume you or corrupt you, and that kind of thing. And then you see these kind of rogue gurus who are exploiting their students and stuff, probably, in part of that, right? But they say it's a distraction ultimately from understanding the nature of reality, right? Like the cities or the superpowers are not the goal. It's
Right.
it's actually a side effect more than anything. Because if you are consumed by the pursuit of the kind of extra normal abilities, or Dean Radin did a book called Supernormal, excellent book. Then you will be distracted and you'll be taken off course from the true goal of those systems, which is awakening. And that, like, the cities are almost like a perversion. Not they're a natural ability that everybody has, right? But that's not the goal.
But it would be like it's like weightlifting for its own sake, to the point where you're just a super freak, and it's like obviously interfering with the rest of your life. Like you're so hyper focused on one. It's like, yeah, you should do it. It's good, but like there's a point where it probably becomes a little much.
Well, so put it like this, right? I mean, to that example, it would be like bodybuilding is like a perversion of when you should be working out for general health and wellness.
Right. Okay.
Kind of
probably
thing,
not the best. Yeah. I understand what you mean. Yeah.
Because you can actually hurt yourself bodybuilding in a bunch of ways, right? Or powerlifting or whatever, when you should be the goal of working out is fitness and well-being and all that kind of thing. Again, it's all beauty's in the eye of the beholder, right?
Sure.
So that's a perspective, but that's what those systems teach. And because also, if you're practicing meditation, right, and all of a sudden you open clairaudience, which is psychically hearing maybe disembodied spirit or a non-human intelligence, whatever, demons, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a distraction from awakening, number one. Number two, it could drive you crazy.
Right?
So, or if you start believing the voices or whatever, because let's say that you're practicing advanced meditation and you develop clairaudience, like that, just because you hear something doesn't mean you know what it is. It could tell you it's an angel or whatever, and it's actually misguiding you.
Well, I wonder if this is at the heart of kind of the whole issue with disclosing, right? Is because ultimately what the actual reality is indigestible to a lot of people, because we don't have a framework for understanding it. But each religion has a framework that makes sense when you try to approach it from there is a language there that describes a hierarchy of beings, a methodology for interacting with them in a correct way, and how to avoid, all the incorrect stuff you shouldn't do. Whether or not, the dogma is important, there's a rule set and a guidebook and sort of a roadmap of the larger reality. And maybe in the Western world, we've become so focused on materialism, and we've just lost our language. And so we're grasping at we're trying to figure out, like, well, can I do it through CE5? Does it have to be called CE5, or can it be just a meditation? Or, we have to rebuild a new methodology, because we don't really have one, at least in this country. How do you describe what would be described by every religion as a demon or a spirit if you don't have that language, if you won't accept that language is a real thing? So now we've got to say, okay, well, it's transdimensional, to come up with another way. But the core truth might be the same either way, right? You're meditating enough, you opening up your psi abilities, your aperture gets larger, and suddenly you interact with a larger reality. And that's really what it is. And if they were to allow that to happen at a mass scale, then they'd really open the can of worms. They would never be able to close it again.
I mean, I think we're headed in that way regardless. And I really like the idea of the 100th monkey effect.
Mm-hmm.
And that, when people start developing abilities, it comes online for other people non-locally.
Right.
And I think that's totally the truth. And I think you can't stop evolution. I think this is a natural part of our evolution. Some people are getting there a little faster for whatever reason. Some people are just born, I don't know, you can, just like inclined in that way. Others are just coming on board. Other people have awakening experiences, but I think that people are going to evolve to that point regardless. And with everything going on right now, let's say with the collective consciousness, I think it's just like a matter of time now. It's kind of ridiculous.
Do you think it's an imminent, do you think there's some imminent thing that's going to be a real serious game changer in the next few years?
I mean, and the question comes down to the phenomenon. We don't know the intentions of the phenomenon that I'm aware of. I mean, even say in my own contact experiences, I don't take the stuff at face value, because look at, like, I hate to say it this way, but look what happened to Chris Bledsoe, right? Like, he totally believes it. But how could you, if you're dealing with an advanced intelligence? And I understand from a first person perspective, right? Like, when you have a contact experience, you take everything quite literally. Mm-hmm. But when you examine it closer, it's like, well, I mean, how do I know that? Why should I believe this? Right? There's something real here. There's a contact experience. There's some other non-human intelligence, but why should I take anything that they might communicate at face value? Number one. Number two, how do I know I'm not somehow misinterpreting whatever the message is? Mm-hmm. And number three, how do I not know it's not a lie?
Right. And in most indigenous cultures with a long history of interaction with other beings in the hierarchy, they have people who are specialists. That's the role of the shaman, is to be the specialist who can interface with that world and act as a guide and bring information back, and then explain and relate that back to our reality in some way. And I wonder if our problem here is just that we don't have that. We don't have a role in our culture for that.
Well, I mean, you have you can say you have the experiencers, right? They're kind of like the interface from the other's non-human intelligence to humanity, right? And it often seems that experiencers are used, right, for better or worse, for the phenomenon to interact with humanity, because these people, they have the experience. What do? They talk about it, and that myth spreads amongst humanity, and people have their own interpretations of it and followings. And I mean, again, I keep pointing to it, but look at Christopher Bledsoe. He has a whole following of people who believe everything he says. What
do you think about that, by the way? Because that's getting a little interesting. The Bledsoe.
I don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't doubt that he's had genuine experiences. It is concerning that he was kind of swarmed by the intelligence community, and I don't know to what extent they've hijacked his perception. Number one. Number two, his messaging of what is the intelligence community trying to communicate through Chris Bledsoe to the UFO public and to the larger public. For better or worse, maybe the intelligence community has like completely awesome and beneficial reasons for doing that, and they're completely well-intentioned. I don't know.
Usually they are.
Right. No, but maybe not. Right? Like, why go through all those hoops instead of just telling people directly, like, what's up, right? But they're utilizing proxies and messengers and
the only thing I can come up with on that, and I'm curious in our chat if anybody here has any thoughts on this, and this would actually be a great time to remind you, if you haven't already, please hit the like button. We're at the 2-hour mark, and before I do the other thing, I'll say this. How are you guys on time? Anyone want to go into overtime for like another 30 and do some audience questions? Or I know Pablo, you're
for that. Yeah, I can do it maybe half an hour or so.
Are you okay, Pablo, for like another 20, 30 minutes?
Yeah. Yes.
Pablo's always like, dude, don't do that to me. He tells me, he's like, stop doing that shit.
Thing is, you guys know I
got
do
shit to do today.
There's a lot of stuff coming out.
Am I the only one here without a beard?
You pretty much.
And we don't have hats. The chat is on fire about the hat. Someone needs to put a hat on.
What is up with that? Why am I the only one here without a beard?
You might not be welcome back until you grow a beard, but I'm sorry, but it's not gonna work
You'll
out.
have a beard tomorrow.
But you're gonna have Andy on?
Your aperture is.
Yeah. Andy has a little bit of a scruff. Andy has a scruff. I think, doesn't he?
I'm gonna run to the restroom real quick. I'll be right back, guys, and then we'll.
So I wanted
silence.
to ask because there's a part of the documentary that I think would be good to mention, which is the story about Dylan Borland, because clearly that's his voice, right?
Yes.
And for me, it's a very poignant part of the story where he's like clearly expressing how much under pressure he is, and I think that remains the case right now. But it's always been like that for him. I don't know what you guys think about that specific part, and also the reference to Matthew
Sullivan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a part where Grush is on the phone with Jeremy and talking about people that he's worked with who have, been taken out. And then there's a part where Jeremy's kind of talking to himself when he's doing some house repair. And I
love
clarified
that for some reason. Yeah.
What's that? Oh yeah.
I love the way that was filmed. I don't know.
It was cool. It was a
Yeah.
cool thing. I asked Jeremy about it in our interview. Please go watch it. Others from Another Mother. Great interview. And he confirmed that it was Matthew he was talking about, but he didn't want to go into any detail. He said that story is not his to tell, but there's a lot more to it. But the stuff with Dylan I thought was very heavy, and it kind of, we were talking earlier about the responsibility and the dangers of journalism, and one of those responsibilities is protecting your people and letting them know that they're cared about, and you can really see that. You could see that relationship played out pretty well in those couple scenes. Did you guys think that?
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I feel really bad for these people that have been targeted. They've been targeted individuals, and that being subject to that again. I've never been a targeted individual in that sense. Where
maybe someday. Well, hopefully you'll get there.
I hope. No, I hope. No, but seriously,
okay.
Some of these people, they're hit with directed energy weapons, surveillance. I mean, even George Knapp was under surveillance, right?
Phones tapped. Yep.
Yeah, and he was talking about how he's talked about it before, but I'm glad to highlight it in the film that they would go Men in Black style and go discourage witnesses, saying like, "Do not talk to George Knapp or any reporter about this story."
Yeah.
That's
I think it'd be I mean I was there in the room when Borland shared his testimony, and yeah, I'm sure you guys and he wouldn't mind me saying there is currently a disconnect between what I know and what I think is additional information, and that the film really showed that. I think it's quite obvious that Dylan's story has not actually been told. He's certainly a character now, and he's a player in this whatever's unfolding. But I don't think really he did tell a story at in the hearing, and I think it's a true story, but I don't think it's his most important story. That's just the impression I get from the public-facing stuff that I've seen of him. So,
yeah,
I just want to know more, and I understand that at least it has to be done in the right way.
It would be good to hear more from him, wouldn't it?
I do really hope that happens. Yeah,
sooner than later, maybe. That'd be cool, wouldn't it?
Come on.
Yeah,
Don't edge me, dude.
Kind of an aside is it was really interesting to hear David Grush talk about General Neil McCaslin as a hostile witness.
Yeah.
And I get that because he was outed, and once his cover was blown, I mean, that's it, man.
What is your sense of what happened to him? Do you think he was taken out? Do you think he?
I mean, my most optimistic view would be that he was taken to secure location, but I mean, most people or a lot of people are suggesting that he committed suicide, which would be incredibly sad. I really just don't know. I mean, it's it's easy to fall into the mindset that he was taken out, and there'd be good reason, either for him to be taken or taken out just because of his credentials. Forget about the UFO stuff. Everything else he worked on makes him a highly valuable asset. So,
yeah,
I don't know.
it's how would you even know?
I know I keep referencing the Ramsey Corbell interview, but in that, Jeremy said that his opinion is that he was murdered. He's sure of it, it seems like, and that's also based on conversations with people who might know. So that I was surprised to hear him kind of go on record and say that, but he's very confident that
yeah.
I mean, that's a damn shame.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it's fucked up, and that's the kind of stuff that just can't happen in anywhere.
Was Jeremy suggesting or implying that it was the legacy program?
He didn't say, but I mean, one would assume, right? I don't know. I guess I don't know. I wouldn't assume. Maybe we shouldn't assume. But he just feels very confident, like highly confident that he was murdered based on conversations that he's had with people that seems like they would have much more information than Jeremy would.
Yeah, because I, from what I understand, when you enter an unacknowledged special access program, part of the deal is they say if you ever talk about this program, this bullet has your name on it.
Yeah, it's understood, right? No,
and it's demonstrated. They have a bullet there that they show you.
Whoa!
No, so literally, this is your bullet. This one's for you.
Shitty. Yeah. Like, come on, guys, really?
I mean, really? It's an effective tool. It would work.
I mean, there was.
I'm worried about the one that says "to whom it may concern."
I think all the rest of them say that. But man, there was a guy who was on UFO Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, back a while ago, and he was not too vote. He entered one space, and he was allegedly an insider, and he knew people that were read into the legacy program, again, allegedly, and this person seemed highly credible to me. I spoke to him, and I mean, he said that people brought into that read-in like leave in tears. Look at this guy. Look at this guy.
Look at this crybaby. This Scottish crybaby.
Can we play that clip again? We know. They leave the briefing. The people who are read into the program leave the briefing crying.
So like,
according to the source,
the Tom DeLonge or the Jim Semivan thing, where Jim Semivan got the long read-in and he was up for 3 nights, just the same way Tom DeLonge tells the story. That's like that's like not the legacy program read-in. That's like the general. That's like the general baseline read-in to like, okay, this is the UFO thing. It's not the legacy program read-in. So even that one is whatever highly disturbing for whatever reason. And again, speculation here.
So, but let's go along with this. So you're saying that there are layers, there are levels that you're brought in at, and if your level is much lower, and it's like you're here to work on a small piece of this program in a limited way, you get a read-in that gives you some broad background, but you don't get the details. You don't get the next level until you're higher
right.
up the food
And
chain.
yeah, and my friend and colleague Daniel Elizondo, no relation to Luis Elizondo, calls it the secret onion. Yeah,
love Daniel.
Loose threads. Yeah,
the secret onion.
Yeah, he's the current generational Richard Dolan. I jokingly say to push him into.
Yeah, he's one of the most cerebral people in ufology, I would say. He has some really in-depth takes on it.
Daniel Elizondo is a genius. Yeah.
But I want to stay with this onion thing. At the higher level, you say, is where people come out in tears. That's based on what you've heard.
Correct.
Right? Oh, I want to know so bad.
Well, think. I mean,
who knows? I mean,
process of elimination. What could it be?
Is true.
Sure, that's true. Yep.
Who knows? I like if I'm thinking of the most disturbing thing is that like, okay, humans are cattle kind of thing. That's probably the most disturbing thing. The government made secret agreements to allow abductions to occur in return for technology from, say, like one group of non-human
One
intelligences,
species, yeah.
at least. But they have to probably have something like existential for them to be so broken. I mean, I'm they must be shown something, right? It's probably not just paper and
Or it's people whose religious beliefs are challenged to the point where they can't handle that.
true. Like if non-humans augmented Homo
Or created,
sapiens,
yeah.
But even
created
that,
religion.
though, like, think about every really heavily religious person you've ever met. Their faith is pretty much unshakable. Like, you could show them anything, and it doesn't really matter.
Well, maybe
I mean,
not.
look at Kirk Cameron. He's going on about this banana thing. He's challenging people out on the street. He looks like a complete fool. I'm not saying everybody's this way, but I'm saying that their faith is very strong, and I imagine they would probably be the last people to crack.
As far as
if you
I'm
have
aware,
an authority figure telling you something like that, which is like your superior, basically, and who knows if they provide evidence, right? It's different than UFO Joe. No, not actual Joe Mercia, but
not
Joe UFO.
Yeah.
Or Richard Dolan. Or in a documentary on TV, you can kind of write that guy off. But imagine if it was your pastor or somebody that you perceive as an authority telling you definitively, God didn't make humans, aliens did. And
like,
if you were religious,
what if the Pope said that?
Yeah.
The thing is, I don't believe that is the truth, because we've had a few people that claim to know, and they still believe in God. David Grush being one of them,
right,
Lou
Elizondo
Elizondo being another.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be exclusive, but what I'm saying is, if I think that if they were told that, I could see people cracking.
I could see it if it was. I think it would have to be bigger, right? Like, because tragedies around the world, like alien abductions, if those were allowed to happen, they happen, and it's terrible. But there's terrible stuff happening all over the world. I mean, there's a genocide, there's a war, there's all kinds of things going on, and that's not people in the national security.
Where does your mind go? Where does your mind go?
Your kids are in danger. Your kids, yours, and mine, and everybody's children. Like, it's something about it would have to be so big. It would have to be like, you are in danger, and you can't warn anyone, but everyone is in danger.
In 2030, they're coming here and they're going to take everybody, or who knows?
Because you have to live with that now. Now you've got to go home and go to sleep, and you have to go tuck your kids in. You have to kiss your wife goodnight. You have to go to bed, and then the next day you've got to get up and come solve an unsolvable problem. Because in 10 or 15 years, if we don't get to this level of technology, when they do show up, it's over, and we're not even close.
That is the indigestible truth.
I think there's a few things that could make me, as someone who isn't religious in the traditional sense, that would make me stop, and that would be stuff directly related to the self and personality itself. So we've talked tonight about symbiotic manipulation and things like that. If we think about this, is again, we're going to have to speculate a little bit here, but if you think about we've talked about universal consciousness. And Pavel tonight has mentioned that the brain may be some kind of receiver. Once there's enough complexity, maybe it picks up or excites the consciousness field and creates experience. So that relationship that the universal consciousness has with the body, the matter, is a symbiotic relationship. The body gets, emotional drive. It's an evolutionary function to be able to have something that experiences. It's an advantage, a fitness advantage. Likewise, consciousness gets experience. And if that's the case, and we've got symbiotic manipulation going on, what does that actually say about your loved ones? Who the hell are they? Who is my daughter? Like, does that person? What if you found out that person doesn't exist?
There you go.
That's messed up. Yeah.
That would be
that feels so
earth-shattering for me.
meta, though. I mean, I almost feel like it's got to be more. I feel like maybe all right. Sometimes I worry or I wonder if we're not making the mistake of way over complicating this thing.
I mean, that could
Maybe
be, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we're reading into a lot of lore and a lot of interpretations and stuff. It's like, maybe it really is as simple as they are coming here from somewhere else and they have an agenda and it is not in line with our agenda. And there's not much we can really do about it, but there is a timeline. We know kind of where we are on it. And we know that in the end, it doesn't look good for us. So our Hail Mary plan is to try and advance our civilization 10,000 years, but we only have a century to do it.
Yeah. It's like the 3-body problem. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
sure.
So you can't tell anyone, but you got about a century to figure it out. And you also, by the way, while you're doing it, you can't destroy the planet. You can't have a third world war. You got to make sure we get through and maintain our industrial base so we can keep building computers and all the infrastructure we need to reverse engineer. So you have to protect civilization from itself while you try to back engineer your way to some kind of a solution for an impossible problem. I could see that. And then you go to the president and you tell him that and they go, okay, well, what do you need?
Well, that's the thing. You don't tell the president, apparently.
Or you tell some, yeah, well, I guess it depends on the president.
Historically. But maybe we are now. Maybe that's why things are accelerating so quickly. We have people like Lou Elizondo and others who keep talking about, like, time is not a luxury that we have. Well, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, explain what you mean. You can't just say that stuff if you're, I guess you can because they're doing it, but
They're doing
you
it.
can't leave us hanging with this stuff. You can't say that and then be like, all right, we'll see you on another podcast sometime. Like, what are you talking about? What is the time relevance?
There's a great question in our super chat in our chats here from Wes Decker. Thanks for the super chat. It says, what if the reason for all of our massive nuclear buildup was more about a planetary failsafe or self-destruct capability to force the phenomena to leave? Captain Kirk diplomacy. I love Captain Kirk diplomacy. It's effective 100% of the time. We will blow this planet the fuck up. We don't give a fuck. E.T. Watch this shit. Like,
I like that.
We'll burn the bitch right down to the ground. We don't care.
No, I think
Miles
the nuclear
Dyson.
capability is something that is part of this equation, because obviously the observation, surveillance but they've allegedly shown the ability to turn them on and off. But I do think that there's something about the nuclear capability that could make things difficult for non-human intelligence for whatever reason. And this goes back to the Starfish Prime story that Tom DeLonge would tell, that the EMP from a nuke has the ability to not only neutralize their cloaking capability, but just to take them out altogether. And I do think that that is true. I think that however powerful they are, when you rip reality apart, that it will mess them up. I do think that part of Tom DeLonge's story is true.
So we are like apes that figured out how to use a machine gun.
Yeah.
Or we were apes who figured out how to use dynamite, and we can kill them. And
Or
we
fire.
know, and we
Yeah.
know we can. We've now realized we can kill them. We can shoot their shit down. We can disable their technology, and they know we know. But we're in a stalemate because they're here, and we hold the keys to the nuclear arsenal. Maybe they can turn them off, but not all at once, and not all the time. I don't know.
Yeah.
we hear
I
also. Go ahead, James.
No, I was just gonna say I do think there's something to that.
That would be hard to. That would be tough. Like, we can defeat them, but it means we reset civilization 400 years.
Jesus.
I mean, nobody wins in that
Doom meter.
scenario, and
Doom
maybe
meter
that's
going
the
up.
point.
No, secret space program wins because they come back and now they've got all the technology. They take over, establish a new world government with their technology after everything else is destroyed. That would be, if I was writing a Blue Beam kind of a thing, I could see that scenario.
Yeah, but I don't like that. But the thing that always gets me about those kind of theories, not the blue beam, but the nuclear thing, is like, well, why would they wait for us to keep evolving our infrastructure and weapons? Like, why wouldn't they have done whatever they wanted to do when they saw the first atomic bomb go off? Be like, we need to shut this shit down now.
Maybe they have. I mean, there's been claims that people have tried to fire nukes. I mean, it's blown my mind that we haven't had another nuke set off on this planet since 1945. Like, no one has tried, no one has done it. That's crazy to me. So maybe we have been stopped, and maybe they don't interfere because maybe they're hoping that maybe we are being studied, and maybe we are an experiment, and maybe they're not getting involved because they're hoping that we figure it out on our own, and that we grow up on our own.
To some extent on that, I do think that they have some kind of interest or vested interest in us.
Definitely.
I don't know what that is, but they clearly could have wiped out humanity, but for some reason it seems that they don't mind us being here.
For now,
at least, for now. But if they wanted to extinguish us and not destroy the planet, they could, right?
Yes.
You just unleash some kind of alien virus or whatever,
yes.
and we're done.
Sure.
Look at
Doom meters at 10.
We hit 10, guys. If you want to vote on our Doom meter, this is our proprietary technology that we have developed here at Night Shift Global Headquarters that actually tracks the exact P Doom across the entire panel, and then aggregates it into a easy to read graph that you can just look at. And as you can see, we're up to 10. If you want to vote, you can go to doomerfriday.com/vote and submit your vote to escalate or de-escalate or hold the threat level. We're at Doom Factor 10. And apparently it goes to 11. We've been told it goes to 11, but
we're trying not to get there.
We're trying not to get there. So please go de-escalate.
So
and the sounds are fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to 11 because I'll hold back my theory that UFOs themselves are bombs that are being planted.
There it is.
There it is.
Oh, fuck, I did it.
God damn it.
Sorry.
You did it.
I didn't mean to.
Well, we've gone all Spinal Tap. Oh, wow. There we go.
Amazing.
Whoa.
What was that?
It's a heartbeat.
It sounds like beginning to a point of convergence, didn't it?
Wow. Yeah, it's got to be bad. It's got to be bad if people are crying. And it's got and to keep it so secret, I mean, the absolute total push for secrecy. Why else would there be stories about Russians working at Area 51 during the height of the Cold War? That seems a little hard to believe.
Yeah.
What if the whole point is for to keep it secret so they don't know our capabilities? I don't know.
Right, that's what Tom DeLonge was saying, that we were hiding our advancements from non-human intelligence. To me, that sounds like a little ludicrous, because if China can hack us and find out what we're doing, why couldn't non-human intelligence, when likely they created? We're basing our computing technology on the integrated circuit that they provided us.
Yeah. And
but you also, I think you would also have to put yourself in the position of military planners and intelligence operatives at the height of the Cold War who are going, well, we can't do nothing. What do? Let's get our best guys and let's strategize a campaign and let's do what we do, but we have to do it at another level now. And we have to figure out how to how do you fight an enemy that's psychic? How do you do that? How do you fight an enemy that can go through walls? And maybe that's what it is. Part of the tradecraft that these people have figured out is how to do that. And that's the thing that's the ultimate secret, is how do you resist their technology?
Yeah. I mean, I don't doubt that there's been a lot of advancements either. I think, I when I was speaking to Jim Semivan, he said on a number of occasions that the reason that he approached Tom DeLonge is because he thought there was a leak, and in the Secret Machines books, he came across information that, again, Tom DeLonge and AJ Hartley, the fictional series, that something in that book was something that Jim had come across that maybe in an official capacity.
Yeah.
So he originally approached Tom DeLonge to interview him. He interviewed him in a hotel over a course of a number of hours, saying, like, who's giving you this information? Because according to him, that there was information in the fictional series, the first book in general, that was classified information.
Yeah. I wish I knew what. Do you know what? Do you have any idea? You don't have to say, but do you have any idea what part that would be?
I mean, the main themes. The thing that stands out to me is basically the TR3B, the reverse engineered triangle, right? That's something that stands out as something that would be considered classified. The other part, I mean, there's other parts that have been in UFO lore, so I don't know, but the whole thing about paperclip and taking the Nazi scientists and putting them into the legacy program, and maybe them taking over the legacy program, that aspect of it, right? They were put into these, they were protected by the government, and that they were working on the legacy program. Yeah, the triangles, the psi component, there were psi aspects to interacting with the technology. I mean, again, they had the Maynard Consortium, but that idea of an international group of elites controlling this that transcends government, that's not a new idea. So
that's how all business works. That's every corporation.
Yeah.
Runs
so I don't know what I think I've asked Jim that on every interview in a different way to try to kind of suss out what it actually is. But he's that's his job, right? He's a specialist at that. So
what did you think? Did you read Ingo Swan's book Penetration?
Yeah,
you ever read
a long time ago.
Yeah. What do you think of that whole Axelrod story? Do you remember that, where he's contacted by this guy named Axelrod, and they take him to this underground base and explain to him that he's going to be doing some work remote viewing the moon, and then he finds
and then Axelrod was allegedly outed as John Peterson, which before I heard that I had not even thought about that, but afterwards,
is that right?
Holy shit!
John Peterson.
Yeah, John Peterson is the guy who got the meeting with Dr. Stephen Greer with the sitting director of the CIA, James Woolsey, Arlington Institute, right? And I mean, a lot of people sleep on John Peterson, but he has like a whole library online of these kind of weird talks. And you got to understand, when John Peterson is talking, he's not talking out of his ass. He runs a think tank in DC, and like, that's somebody, I tried to interview him, but it was towards his death, and I was not able to get him on. But John Peterson is a very interesting individual. I don't know if that is completely true. Some random account put that out and wrote a series of books. I didn't read the books, but he put that out there, and I was like, holy shit. Wow, I would have never thought of that, but it was just an interesting idea. I'll just leave it at that.
It says the Arlington Plan. Is that what you're referring to?
Arlington Institute. John Peterson, the Arlington Institute.
Yeah, it says, according to testimony from former HUD official Catherine Austin Fitz, who served on the Institute's advisory board from 1998 to 2000, Peterson asked her to help formulate a high-level strategic project. Fitz claimed that the purpose of this plan, intended for the Deputy Secretary of the Navy, was to prepare the military for the reality of extraterrestrial life.
I mean, John Peterson, I don't know why people have not picked up on this stuff, but so Greg Braden is I don't want to say he's a new age guy. Maybe John. Yeah.
Greg Braden. Yeah. I know.
I love his work. So he has excellent work on consciousness, but also from a scientific perspective. he has an entire series with John Peterson. Apparently, him and John Peterson are best buddies, or were. Again, John Peterson has since passed, maybe about a year ago, maybe 8 months ago or so. But like Greg Braden he would never talk about UFOs, right? Like maybe if you caught him like behind the scenes somewhere, but publicly, he didn't have a conversation on UFOs and disclosure until starting with the 2017 stuff, really, and then boldly speaking more and more after that. But in the last few years, like Greg Braden's given some talk on consciousness and all this, and then he starts talking about artifacts on the moon that are millions of years old that have human-like languages. That's like Sanskrit and ancient Greek. Not exactly, but they're human-based languages. And it's like and then he's talking about Antarctica and all this crazy shit. But like, I would bet my money that that stuff is coming from John Peterson, right? Like I'd bet anything. John Peterson is also best buds with Hal Puthoff and that whole clique. Like John Peterson has some inside knowledge.
It says his institute, which historically maintained a client list including the U.S. Navy, Air Force, and Marine Corps, hosted alternative speakers. In May 2001, Peterson famously introduced fringe researcher Neil Freer to an audience containing uniformed U.S. military personnel. Freer's presentation suggested human civilizations were historically manipulated by ancient alien gods. And Catherine Austin Fitts publicly stated that she was once offered a meeting to be introduced to an actual alien through this institute connection.
Yeah. So, but it's important to say that just because people have insider knowledge or are inside these circles of the onion, right, so to say, doesn't mean they don't have their own crazy beliefs. I don't mean crazy, but like you start compartmentalizing yourself from consensus reality and you get into these reality tunnels and you end up like John Lear, right? It's a historic lesson. So all of these guys in the Invisible College and the Fight Club and subsequent layers getting deeper and deeper to the core secrets. I mean, that doesn't mean they have a more accurate picture of reality necessarily. They have access to certain knowledge we might not, but that because the information is not consensus, you have like a group of a echo chamber all talking about this stuff instead of it being under the scrutiny of the entire public, who it's crazy, right? Like, nowadays, right? If you want to solve a fucking problem, put it on Twitter, right? Like you have these UFO videos, the government can't figure it out, and like some random account on X will figure it out in like 10 minutes. Yeah. Not that their conclusions are always correct, but like
they're always fun.
The collective consciousness is our best asset. So like, why would we not put our best minds to everything instead of having it? And that's the problem also with the compartmentalization that Lou Elizondo and Hal Puthoff and Eric Davis have all talked about, is that it's so siloed that we're treading dirt here. Because if you had more people working on it, we can actually make better breakthroughs. Where it's like, again, Bob Lazar
stifling progress.
Yeah, Bob Lazar talks about the same problem. Like, what the hell?
And it's just him and Barry. That's it. On the whole reactor team, it's just those two guys. There's no one else.
Relying on Bob and Barry. Yeah,
Bob and Barry. And he's like, Barry, do you know? I don't know.
Well, and that was
what do you know?
That was kind of like the genuine criticism of Eric Weinstein, is that like, why is it run this way? This is stupid, right?
Yeah.
And Eric Davis is just like, that's how they do it. And I don't doubt that what Eric Davis is saying to be the truth as he knows it.
And that's probably, that makes perfect sense. Real quick, last question. I just want to throw this out there because it was a super chat that came through earlier, and it says, with an open mind, this is from Jason or Jason 00. With an open mind, has anyone considered Michael Heiser? Jason, Michael
Jason,
Heiser, PhD theological view on the council, fallen, and gods of other nations, how this corresponds with the phenomenon that we are trapped by forces not allowed to hurt us. Does that... I'm not following this exactly.
Like a quarantine. I've heard this from Dr. Stephen Greer as the quarantine. Basically, we're kind of trapped on this planet, even though we have reverse engineered technology and we're able to go out in space. We're like constantly followed and monitored by non-human intelligence. And in the same token, again, this is Dr. Stephen Greer's claim, which he does a lot of the time have some of the best information that's 30 years ahead of most. Like, just for context, like nobody was talking about special access programs until Stephen Greer was talking about unacknowledged special access programs in the 1990s. That was not brought up again until Tom DeLonge came out and Christopher Mellon and Luisa Elizondo. Before that, it was not discussed. Only Stephen Greer was talking about that because why? Because he had people from unacknowledged special access programs coming to him. And I don't know how on the record it is, right? But I'll just say his military advisor was somebody who had his own unacknowledged special access program, not relating to UFOs, but relating to the Navy. So the guy knows how those programs operate. And that's why Stephen Greer had everything so on point with that, because he had somebody who ran a legitimate USAP tell him the architecture of how it's run. I don't want Pavel knows who I'm talking about. But yeah, so this quarantine idea is that we actually do have reverse engineered technology, but we can't go out into the greater deep space with it because number one, we can't mess with them, the others, but number two, because we're being protected from other non-human intelligence groups from interfering with us.
There's already a limited place where we can go in terms of like the moon. That's like, and even going there has been problematic in the past.
Right.
Wow. A lot to think about. We have to leave it there because we've gone 2 hours and 43 minutes. We're almost at 2 hours and 45 minutes. James, is there anything you want to leave the people with before we wrap up? We end on this note.
Yeah, I mean, to leave people with, I mean, the most important thing about all this, I think that the UFO subject and the consciousness stuff and everything should be a unifying factor, because people are concerned about the others and non-human intelligence, but if we can't get along with each other and take care of ourselves, the rest of the shit it doesn't even freaking matter. Right? So just be cool, man. Be a good person. Otherwise, I mean, it'll just extrapolate to, like, if we can't take care of ourselves, the disclosure is not going to mean shit, except it's going to tear us apart. So that our first priority should be, humanity, right? Like other humans.
Take care of each other.
Preach.
Yeah, man. Otherwise, none of this means a goddamn thing.
Preach.
Anybody else got any last thoughts?
I have one last thought.
The Greys need to understand that humans will fuck them.
That's all I got.
Like literally.
Let's end right there.
You're really pissed on the message there at the end.
That's my job. Cut after James said his beautiful thing. Cut the show after that because I ruined it.
That was
no, James. I think what you said was beautiful.
Yeah, that's right.
Be excellent to each other.
Yeah, don't, I mean, a lot of people are tearing each other down. It's like, man, I guess
be a dick.
It's in human nature. None of us are above it, really, but like putting things into perspective, if there are others there, whether they're good or bad or whatever, we need to move forward with our best foot, right?
I agree. And if we do start interacting more, to not be defensive, trying to be welcoming and open is the best way to start that communication if it gets a little bit more serious.
Yeah.
Be the best human you can be.
There you go.
Yeah. All right.
New slogan for the night shift.
Wise words. We'll leave it there. And the Greys better watch out because
they need to understand.
Out there. They need to understand. They need to understand. I don't think they understand. They will. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out with us, playing the home game. And James, thanks for coming out and hanging out with us on a Friday. This was awesome. And again, for coming back. We thought you were gone for good. Here you were.
No, it was great to talk, guys.
Yeah, we bumped Andy again. We were like, Andy, come on. And then you came back. Sorry. We'll see you in a week. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for everybody who sent in a super chat, and thanks for everyone who participated in the super chats and in the regular chat. If you want to support the show, you can go to Team Night Shift, or you can subscribe or follow any one of us on whatever platform you stream this on. Please go to James's channel, Engaging the Phenomenon, and subscribe there. Follow him. He is one of the best in the business at trying to help parse all this so that we can understand the unexplained. And that's it for us. We'll see you next week. Take care of yourselves and each other, and keep looking up, everybody.
I do declare, bastards. Yeah, no, that's fine. Don't worry about it.